like to open this meeting at 6:38 p.m. on January 3rd. And we will open as per usual with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now we'll go ahead and continue with the roll call. Myself, Jake Hemingway, Select Board Chair.
Dean Blake.
Marlo Herrick.
All right, and that moves us to announcements. At least I believe it does. I don't have the agenda in front of me, but it usually does. So yes, announcements.
Do I have an announcement?
Yes.
Yes, I do have one. The elementary school is sponsoring a vaccination clinic on January 29. It's a Saturday from 10 till 2. All 3 vaccinations are available. If you have one of the 3, please bring your card so they know which one you need. That again, that's January 29, 10 to 2 at the Webster Elementary School.
All right, and of course, everybody, Happy New Year. We've made it. We are here. It is a brand new time, and we look forward to moving forward as we always try to do. Along that note, one of the things that we'll talk about a little bit later as a topic, however, I believe we'll have some announcements as well, would be the town report. I believe there are 2 items for that you guys might have announcements for.
Yes, I guess one of the announcement is we had sent it out for bids. We have a few prices to print the town report.
Sorry,
Can't hear you.
announcements.
Sorry,
The
announcement.
Competition.
The
Oh, I'll let you do that. Okay, all right, sorry.
So the select board is hosting a competition for the town report cover. You can find that link on the town's webpage, webster-nh.gov. And there'll be a link, and it'll be the town administrator's email. And if you have photos or any drawing or art that you'd like to put on the cover, please have it in by the January the 29th. And then will be voted upon at the next select board meeting. Thank you.
And that would also be true if you have people that you want or think deserve dedication of the town report to. Please make sure that they are submitted with reasons that you believe that would be worthwhile as well. We have had at least a few suggestions so far. So we encourage anybody that believes that they have somebody to go ahead and let us know on that as well. Moving forward, we'll go ahead and get into our wonderful project status updates. And normally I kind of show it to you briefly and say you can find it online. You can still find this online on our website, so you can see it even easier. But now it's a little easier for people to see what it looks like if they're only looking on the stream. Clothespin Bridge is of course on track still. Salt Shed is going through the same boundary research, but we still hope to have the access completed by 2022. The Town Hall has ongoing stuff. You may have noticed coming in today that the entrance stairs and the roof for that have now been repaired. Next up is the security with the new door and fob quotes that have been requested, and also refrigerator quotes have been requested. And then further ADA compliance is also on that list. And not just Town Hall, but that ADA compliance will be going also through parts of the safety building. White Plains Bridge now has a new expected time. We are expecting that to be done by fall of this year, so that at least by the time that the kids are going back to school, we should have it going. As for the next steps and the reasons for that, new engineers have been chosen and are currently working on the project, and this is their timeline. They expect that by March we will have an appropriate DES application and or DES meetings with them to make sure that that is ready to go. Town property sales, some completed and are back on the tax list. We have deeded lots that are currently still going through legal. We expect within the next month or two that those will finish that process and be ready to put up for bid. Deer Meadow Solar is the same as before, moving along in progress and set for the next batch of information to come during the first quarter of this year, when we can start really working on more for that. The Wetlands Ordinance has gone through the planning board and its final revisions and approvals, which are now posted on the website. So that will be on the town ballot for you to vote on, and that will be the next step for the Wetlands Ordinance. Contracts and job descriptions, those are to be done by town meeting. We've got one signed already. We've got one further description done. We have another description that we'll be talking about tonight and a further contract that we hope to have buttoned up by the end of February. Records retention is in progress. The schedule is complete. The policy is all signed. It exists. The document retention schedule is being worked on, and we will definitely have that by next town meeting, probably sooner. By this coming town meeting, probably sooner. Policy review is in progress. We hope to actually have a bit more about that at our next meeting. And then we will likely be scheduling a public hearing. For the personnel policy, we have a committee that has been formed to go through that and make sure that it is updated appropriately. And so that is currently starting to happen as well. Budget, we're going to finish talking about that, I hope, tonight. So the final department meetings are now, tonight, and then there will be the public hearing scheduled, and that will be happening tonight as well, or the scheduling of that, I should say. The CIP is completed and has now been used for that budgeting, and so the next step there is just to pass the town budget at the town meeting. And that's going to conclude the project status update. Again, you can find this on the website if you're ever curious. We do this at the department head meeting or the first meeting of each month. That moves us on to, unless there are any further announcements. All right, that moves us on to our appointments. Our first appointment being J-Bo at the Deer Meadow Road stop sign. If you would like, we do have seats up here. If not, we can get a microphone to you.
Uh-oh. I just moved that. I didn't realize it was on wheels. Sorry.
It'll be okay.
It's going to live.
Let's get a better picture of Dave right now, that's good.
I'm really sorry.
No, sorry, no.
You gotta quit, let me tell you, people that gimp around the world mess everything up for other people, so I'm not even gonna sit in that wheelchair. But there's a couple of things I kind of wanted to share with you guys. One I can't talk about yet because I didn't get permission. The first thing that, can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
Is Deer Meadow Road stop sign. Several years ago, I think it was 2014-ish, 13-ish in that area, where Deer Meadow Road dumps out onto Clothespinning and Cornhill Road, there's a real tight little intersection there. That always had a stop sign. And it was one business person in town with his trucks. Do you remember this, Emmett? We went out there with Bob Dupuy and decided, there's too many cars that don't have the clearance who can see as clear as a truck can coming down that road. So changing it to a yield sign was really kind of a misguided decision. And then the three of us, you, Bob, and me, we all kind of came to the same conclusion that we should just leave it status quo. It's a stop sign, leave it there. Then, lo and behold, it's a yield sign. And that's always kind of bothered me. However, not too long ago when I was going to go do bus duty at a friend's house, I almost got creamed, seriously, by a guy in a big pickup pulling a trailer who came ripping down Deer Meadow Road and then took a left so he could go up Clothespin Bridge towards 127. And I'm like, holy crap. So, sorry, that wasn't very ladylike, I'm sorry. So it really wasn't a very happy experience. I was hoping that that decision could be revisited and make that a stop sign again. there's no way in God's green earth I'm the only person who's concerned about that stop sign. I think the yield sign used to be at Christopher Robbins, but I might be wrong. And it just seems that since both of those roads dump down to a major road, that there should be a stop sign at both of those locations. But what do I know? I'm just like a resident, so that's one thing I wanted to bring up. The second thing is this past Christmas, I was able to recruit some deputy elves, and Dana was just so wonderful to let us use town hall office as a drop-off location. And one of the things that was donated was this game that the two of you guys thought was just the greatest thing in the world. And it was explained that sometimes when you have a want or a desire as a little kid and you don't get that desire fulfilled, it leads you down a road to perdition that sometimes maybe you would have avoided. So with that in mind,
Was that my problem?
Well, first of all, what are
Here
you
you
doing
go.
playing games?
so now you guys can play volcano when there's nothing else going on in the
Yeah.
office.
I nearly set my parents' house on fire. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for helping, and that was such an extremely successful project. I'm just so glad it worked out. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Ma. And I'll get out of your hair. Carry on. Thank you.
Thanks.
So it was mentioned that there was a committee that looked at this. Can we try to find the results of what the committee said and then have that sent out to the board so we can look at
A committee that
it?
did.
About the stop sign. Or yield
Not your
sign.
game.
Oh, good.
You
Yes,
said that
I'd be
was about
glad to find
2013,
that.
2014? You said that was about 2013 or 14?
Right around it. My husband was still home, so I think it was 13, maybe 14.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure this all happened while he was still at home. I think.
Yeah, because you were on the committee, I was on the committee, Bob, am I saying it right? Dupree
Yeah.
was the police chief, we all met down there one day. I think it was just the three of us?
I think it was just
No.
three of us.
The fire chief was Colin Colby.
What, that was just three of us?
But in any case, if we
We'll
can
try and
find
see what we can do to
the
find it,
results of
sure.
that committee, that would be
Yeah.
helpful. All right.
But I mean, on the committee.
Oh, okay.
So thank you for bringing that up, and we'll see what the results were if we can find them, and go from there.
I know a lot of us probably drive you crazy, but that's the terrors of the territory, right? But that's just a big safety issue, and the school bus stop in there and everything, it's just, and I'm not usually one to be concerned about kids in schools, but, or the bus, I don't want them to get hurt, but that's not a high priority for me, but when I saw what I saw, it's like, this isn't good. So, thanks for
Thank
looking
you.
into it, and I know you're gonna fix it, so I'll thank you in advance.
Oh dear.
No question.
All right, so that moves us to department head reports. So come on down, gentlemen.
I feel like we're at the Price is Right.
Oh.
Do you want my microphone?
Sit right here.
It's all good.
I didn't want to have it changed.
Oh, okay, then I can sit.
That's why we set you guys
Yeah.
out to the side, but,
It's all good.
Okay, sit on the side.
I'll sit on, I'll sit.
and then we can.
Hopefully you can hear us. Preference on who goes first, or does it matter?
Go ahead, chief.
As long as the chief goes first, I'm okay.
That's right. Just not
So-
sure chief of what.
As of, this is for the last month, for the month of December. So we have $23,310.39 remaining in our 2021 budget. That's 7.86% of the remaining budget. For breakdown on calls, it was a fairly quiet month. We had 55 motor vehicles stops, $124 in fines. Only handed out one summons for the month. And I think that had something to do with the Christmas spirit for the guys that were working. We had 2 arrests with 2 charges, false reports to law enforcement, and benchmark for failing to appear in court for us. 38 calls handled. As always, most of them are the same. Civil matters, motor vehicle complaints, juvenile petitions, pistol permits, road hazard complaints, sex offender registrations, property checks, welfare checks, assist other agencies, assist the citizens, assist the fire department, EMS. Disturbance complaints, animal complaints, and requests for police information. So it was actually fairly a quiet month. And so it was in November, so I'm kind of hoping that the rest of the year follows suit and we stay quiet all year long. No more vehicle accidents, even with the bad weather.
Oh my God, don't say
No,
this.
no more vehicle accidents. The roads were in great shape. We had no problem with anything. We did all our firearms training for the year, had that all squared away. So I think we fared out pretty well. And just a little, I'm sure you noticed it in my report, that I want to thank the board for all the support that they've given the department for the past year. So we're happy. Thank you.
Thank you.
You know, I'll start where he left off, and I want to thank you folks for your support for the year and the year before that, and the year before that, and these gentlemen that I worked with at the town hall. I want to thank them very much for their support. It's been a pleasure working with you folks. The firehouse, we finished last year at 222 calls. That's just emergency calls. So I did talk to Chris Champagne. He sent me all the information on the new fire truck. He's the fire truck guy from E1. We have everything to go over. I've gone over it once, but I'm going to go over it with a couple of guys at the firehouse, and he's going to come down some night maybe Wednesday night of this week or Wednesday night of next week, and sit across the table from each other and go down through it line by line before I bring it to you folks to sit there for your signature. So that is coming together. So things are going well at the firehouse. I think other than a few medical calls last month was slow, which is always good.
Thank you.
So every day, every Wednesday night, one Wednesday night we do truck check, one Wednesday night we have EMS, and one Wednesday night we have fire training. The fourth Wednesday night we have a meeting, and then if we have a fifth Wednesday night, then we clean the building or get together to do joint training and stuff. So you folks are welcome to stop any Wednesday night, feel free. I know you need whatever, if there's more than one, but if there's whatever, if you're in the area and you want to stop by and see how we do things and visit with the folks, so I would encourage that.
And just to let everybody know, since we are in a new year now, that would also be, those would also be the meetings that people would come by to get fire permits.
Yeah,
Not that
yeah,
that's
after
required
the-
right now.
Yeah, after the snow is gone, but a lot of times we go out on new ones and check on people that come back year after year. We, take their word on a lot of things, but yeah, now is the time. So,
And I have a question. For some reason, my pea brain, did we ever, there was something about the ceiling, insulation in the ceiling in the fire department. Was that something we were all thinking about a long time ago, or did it happen? I don't remember.
no, in the fire bay, there is, where it had some water damage there, the insulation is, got holes in it and different things, but, Phil and I are working on the door gaskets that have been bad for a long time.
Yeah.
That, and he's got them ordered.
Yep.
I met with Phil, and Steve this morning on my Monday morning hourly. Every Monday morning I try to get down there for an hour to visit with the gentleman and go over things, but we got off on track and we didn't talk shop inside the firehouse this morning,
So the firehouse is insulated, the ceiling is insulated anyway?
Yes.
Okay, because maybe we did it and I just remember from
yeah,
who knows what
it,
years.
around one of the vents was leaking last winter, and Michelle's husband Ron came down
Oh,
and
yeah.
he took care of it. I don't believe he sent us a bill. I think he did that
Oh, that
out of
was
the kindness
nice.
of his heart. Well, pretty sure that's what Bill told me. So,
Oh, good, so everything's good, that's good. Thanks.
and yeah, we go down on Mondays. We go down and get the dump out. If I don't get the dump out, Bill gets it out back and forth with a garbage truck and do our routine on Mondays, if not Tuesdays. So, yeah, things are holding their own. And then the highways and roads there this weekend was great. We had rain, but we didn't have to go out and spread yards and yards of sand. So the weekend before, we probably put 250 to 300 yards of material out to keep everybody, so we didn't have any accidents. So it's so other than just a few storms here and there, it's been pretty quiet on that side. We did go down on Clothespin Bridge last Friday and fill them holes all in, but when I went back down today, if you hadn't been there on Friday and watched it being done, helped making it done, you wouldn't have believed it would have got done. So, yeah, that's going to be a challenge.
I was gonna say, how do you do, like, you have to put metal or something, because that just falls through the, as I see the rebar all the time, it's, oh my God.
Yeah.
So unless you stop people from going across it, I suppose, which would be a.
Well, if everybody that drank a can of beer stopped there and crushed their can and put the bottom of it, then it would fill the holes in, right, Chief?
And we've certainly enough of it alongside them.
Yeah,
But,
right.
yeah, so we gotta figure that out, but it's almost impossible.
Yeah, I don't know how you do it, I mean, sheet metal, or not sheet metal, but fat metal.
Well, you'd have to use half-inch steel plates.
Yeah.
And then you gotta cover them but, yeah.
Because I noticed it says the bridge 2022 is gonna be finished. That's what your little report said. And I'm thinking, I hope it lasts through 2022. So,
Other than, yeah, that on the roads, I mean, we still have plenty of sand and salt to use. We did use up some, but of course we had plenty there to work with, and the equipment's all in good shape, and we're ready to go.
thanks.
All right. Do we have other department head stuff for you?
I guess our departments are just really busy with closing out the year, getting prepared to have the closeout. We also have the auditors are coming in the week of April 4. And we have homework that will be going out to several of you, so that you'll be ready for the auditors. And that will be coming this week.
As well as any department heads that may not be here, or committees, or et cetera. Make sure you get anything that's supposed to be in the town report into Dana and Russ by the end of the month as well.
Michelle will be up after she closes, as a matter of fact.
Okay, perfect. All right. Do we have anything else further in department head reports?
Not for me.
All right. Well, I guess I got ahead of myself, but that moves us on to old business and the town report.
Which folder is
Russ,
that
you
in?
want to take this one?
I can take this
Because
one.
you are the,
So at the request of the board, we went out and got budgets or quotes on what it would be to have the town report professionally done out of house this year as opposed to in-house. I received 3 quotes. we'll get
which
them-
I'm gonna find in any moment.
As soon as he finds them, we'll get them to the board to take a look at.
Really, make complete bed rest.
All right. So one, of course, is we went to the vehicle classic of Staples.
Tell them how many copies you asked them for, and
Yeah, so we were asking for 200 copies of the town report, because last year we didn't quite use that many, because we still have about, let's say about 30 left over. And we made about 200,
we made 250 last year.
250. So we're gonna go with a little lighter this year, and if we need to order more, we can order more. So I put in the quotes for 200, basically the same layout as it was previously. So Staples came in as $5,600. We had RC Brayshaw Co. Inc., who did the town report last time, and they came in at $928 to do it.
Right.
And
9,000?
$928.
Okay, yeah.
And Staples is how much?
$5,700.
Oh, somebody put next to zero.
I thought it was here, that's why I said, oh, am I hearing something strange?
Yeah, me too, that's what I was thinking.
And then I asked another business out of Concord called Speedy Printing
Yeah.
to get us a quote, and they gave us a quote for, I don't know what to do the math, because they broke it down for us, depending if we wanted to put stuff out there. So there's, I would say, is $1,030-ish for the town report, and they put a separate quote in there as if we printed it in-house and just bound it at them, they would do that for $350. So
Should you check with Staples one more time? That doesn't even sound like,
Staples
It sounds
was
like something.
$5,600.
Well, no, I heard that,
Up to
but that's-
500.
that's why when you said 9, I thought, oh, 9,000. I'm like,
Yeah,
wow,
that's- yeah.
Look, I'll come in and bind them.
Well, it was
It's a lot of
8,000 if we
business,
did it in
baby.
color.
Huh?
It was 8,000 if we did it in color.
I think Russ was pretty specific with what he was asking for.
That's just,
And
wow.
it does sound like it is.
Well, more or less almost a waste of time because somebody's not paying attention.
Yeah.
Because there's no way it can be that big
No,
difference.
can't be.
But, well, yes, somebody told you that. I'm not
Gee, you
saying,
thinking about doing it now?
yeah.
I'm telling you, for that kind of money, holy crow.
It's the difference between going to places that do this for a living versus
Yeah, but Dave, excuse me,
places
but that's
like
like,
Staples that just overcharge everybody that walks in. the
well, that's like, wow.
That's
And I
20
think
that's
they send them
$29
out.
A report.
We did ask for gold leaf pages.
Yeah, that's what it was. Well, I know, was it apples to apples?
I'm in the wrong
Is
business,
Dana got gold teeth and on the report?
Well, we wanted them to be extra nice for the town.
Right.
It's their one time of the year we get to show off.
Even,
I know, but I
even
know.
back when I worked at Staples ages and ages ago, as one of my first jobs, they were very overpriced for copying and printing.
They just don't wanna
that
do
kind
it.
of work.
But they'll give you a price, all right.
I think they send it, they don't do it in Concord, they send it someplace, because I asked about doing my paper, that's just why I print mine at my house. So, I can't believe this, I just can't believe it, I mean,
But the other two quotes are
really
really
like to see.
similar.
I think the other two quotes were in line with each other.
Yeah, right, exactly.
And they're also, not that Staples isn't, I'm not saying that, but they're known entities.
So, and we're doing this because we have done this in-house, correct?
We've done
we're
it for the
thinking
past
about-
several years in-house.
Okay.
Frankly, I don't think you save all that much money by the time that, if you consider my time to put it together. And, you know, we've used ACO binders, and it's like one book at a time. And actually, it was a good experience in the sense of, you know, you could put things together. It was kind of work that you could, you know, fill your time. But I spent like 2 weeks solid putting books together. And it's just, I don't think we saved enough. I mean, if I could say, you know, by the time we had the paper, we ran the copy machine and then paid for me to put it together and have the AccuBinders, we spent about $1,200 last year.
You gotta compute the ink in
And the ink
Right.
and the, you know, and I'm really not fussing that I was doing it, but I'm just saying that I just think that we're not printers.
No. So,
And when you're doing that, you're not taking care of your everyday business.
well, that's what I was gonna say.
Right, you
yeah.
get paid more money to do your own work
Well,
than do. printing and
Well, I'm a
collating.
pretty expensive ACO binder operator,
Yes,
yeah.
right, yes. So, can I make a motion? Sure.
Well, I guess the question would be
questions?
which way to, not necessarily which quote,
Oh.
but obviously there's Staples, and I'll just set that over there.
Yeah, that's what where's the trash?
But between the other two, we've got one that's the entire job, which is a little less expensive. And then we've got one that if we do the printing here, like we've always done, which is just run it off on our copier, because that's why we have that kind of copier that does that many outputs, then they'll do only the binding at a lot less price. And the binding is where we save all of the time of our administrator. And I would suggest that there's, well, I think this makes a lot of sense to do this year, one way or the other. In the past, and I know this didn't happen last year because of pandemic, and it's unlikely to happen this year because of the pandemic. But in the past, it's been lots of volunteers come in and do a lot of the binding while the administrator's working on other things in the administrator's office. And kind of having that binding party is what made it work in previous years, which these gentlemen have not had the fortune of being able to experience.
The binding party.
So I would
Sounds fun.
suggest that I'm in favor of the printing it off ourselves, because that's send the print job to the printer probably overnight, and then and then deliver the stuff to them to just let them bind it.
How come the quotes aren't broken down the same? Do you know why?
I do not know that.
Okay.
I would
The
have to
only,
ask
only
her.
reason I ask, because if, like, as he always is paying attention, I was gonna just say,
I mean, I could
But-
ask the other company if they would submit just a binding quote if you want.
as doing quotes myself, I just think it's fair to
Yeah.
say.
We don't have to have a decision of which way
Okay.
you want to go. This is the first, I mean, if we had it maybe by the next meeting, that would be fine.
Well, you see what I'm saying, fair's fair, you know, if you're gonna ask
No,
somebody
I
to
certainly
quote,
ask
let's,
them.
But we can ask,
Yeah,
if
yeah.
there's not the quote on there for just the binding by itself, I agree.
yeah.
And-
Because printing them can't be much trouble, I mean, you just put the master in and say so many sheets and pops out. I do that all the time, so.
Theoretically, yes.
Yes.
Um,
Do you have any comment on that? We should
Well,
ask you.
You know, we have to change the paper because in the past, we've had our warrant and the budget in a different color. So if we want to continue doing that, which is just another step, I think we can do maybe up to 100 copies before we have to give the machine a rest, because it gets
Tired.
overheated, I guess.
Yeah, no,
But it worked really well last year as far as printing it. I guess we'd also have to print a heavier stock cover or something for a cover. However, that is the easy part. It's the binding and putting it together that is the difficult part. Collating the book, making sure you pay attention to which section you're putting where. Not that there was ever a problem with that, but.
Well, and if they can break it down the same, then we can come back and say,
Yeah.
hey, maybe we'll do this, and,
But we could ask them, and I think we went to Brayshaw because they had been the company that had done it in the past.
right.
And we went to the one in Concord because they're also known and local.
Well, I think if they break it down, then we can
Yeah.
look at it, and we'll, with your input, and we'll go from there. Make sense?
Yeah.
All right.
So I'm not gonna make a motion. Well, I was just thinking, I didn't realize, I know they had said that, but
Yeah.
that's interesting, those.
I think
figures
in my
are
mind, the
same.
most thing I wanted you to do is just discuss about the concept, if you wanted to go ahead with that concept.
But I think at the end of the day, what you're saying, and I'm a firm believer of, you've got a lot of other items that
could cost more than $1,000 if you don't tend them correctly.
Mhm.
And then in this case, this is not what we're set up to do,
Right.
so, but we'll see what happens with if they can break it down.
I don't mind doing anything really, but I mean, it's just, it really held up doing other things.
Mhm.
All right. And because I normally do, any comments?
If you decide you're gonna print them, and you're gonna put the, print them here, and then use those plastic spiral drawings, is that how you're gonna bind them, like we did?
No, they're gonna be, I think what we're going with is the perfect binding, like a book,
Oh,
like it used to be, you know, it's
okay.
what they call perfect binding,
I was gonna say.
without the
help you.
plastic combs. Yeah.
I would volunteer to help you if you needed help with that.
The problem, I mean, and I had a volunteer last year who helped, and she was really helped me a lot, but we have one machine, and
In town business.
and so it's only really one person at a time that can do that, because it's only one machine.
Last night, have you considered contacting the prison for printing and collating and binding and all that jazz?
We hadn't, but we
Prison
could.
does it. Prison does it.
Sure.
They use bad people to do good stuff in
Well,
some cases.
Yeah.
So why don't we request from them at the same time as requesting a breakdown?
All right, so we'll get another quote from them and a breakdown for the.
Yeah.
And don't call Staples. Oh my God.
And-
I still can't believe it.
I've always found Staples to be very expensive.
I know, is that crazy?
Um,
I was kidding.
Maybe I shouldn't have said that.
That was the low-hanging fruit.
You can always ask them to break it down.
Yeah. Thank you.
Well, the normal binding rates, at least back when I was there a couple decades ago, was just a posted price on there. For copy and stuff. So you found pretty
It
easy.
is not publicly posted, because I looked.
Really?
I looked
Oh,
on
it
the
always used to
website
be.
all over it.
All right. Well, that moves us on to old business equalization.
I had sent an explanation about the equalization form. We had talked about it a few weeks ago, and I told you I would send you the explanation, which I did. Can I explain it to you again?
Please feel free.
It's the annual equalization report that needs to be signed. This is basically, it is a mathematical procedure that is done at the DRA, comparing what properties are assessed for versus what properties have sold for. We're at 73%. So what that says is our assessment is 73% of market value. Only market value has just been such a moving target, and it moves. It's going to end, but it just moves from week to week. I don't know what else I can tell you about it. They looked down at all the sales for the community that they qualified. Sales that do not qualify are sales that are as a result of a financial problem or a sale within a family, anything they consider not an arm's length sale. And what you're doing by signing this is you're understanding that they're going to use that to calculate your equalization ratio and that you've seen it.
One of the other things that I found interesting there was they removed all of the sales that were of current use now, which of course
Current
in
use
this town,
skews a lot of things as far as the assessments.
well, which of course in this town is a lot of it, and like just looking at the first section of their stuff, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 right in a row with each other that are excused because of being current use.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, for us, that's what has been done, because all of those are much closer to the sale price and assessed or ad valorem value than the rest has been. So that, I think, would have actually helped the town significantly to include them.
Yeah, they usually do throw those out. One thing that we do have that sometimes isn't always the case is that you had a number of sales, whereas sometimes you don't really have many sales.
We had a lot of sales this year?
I think you had a significant,
Yes.
for a small town, significant
surprised.
sales, yeah.
There were a lot of.
They went
Pillsbury-
fast,
There were
though,
a lot of Pillsbury
Oh,
Lake sales.
Pillsbury
too.
Lake, yeah. But I know they go fast, because you go and see them very long. That's why
Oh,
I
no,
wondered,
they-
because I didn't see a sign for very many people.
No,
But I only
basically,
travel
people were
around once a
selling their
month,
houses
so-
overnight
Yeah, right.
for more than
exactly.
what they were asking.
Yep.
It is amazing. People are just, I can't believe it.
So it's 73% fairly, you feel good about that?
No, I don't.
But what, excuse me. is what you're
But I
saying.
don't, I think we're not the, I mean, everyone's in the same boat with the way this market has been. Basically, the state had set up several years ago, the reason why we do the cyclical reval is to keep up with the assessments versus the sales price or the market value. And no one can keep up with it right now, just the way things are. We may find, it could be in another year, we could find that we're assessed at 130%, which is, of course, going the other way. And it makes it difficult. The whole equalization is to keep things between towns all equal.
Right.
And-
What's a good average?
That's what I was.
Yeah.
Well, they tell you that you should be within 10 points, so you could be between 95 and 105,
Oh, and we're 73.
and we're 73.
Do you know what the other towns around us are doing?
I imagine they're in the same boat, but I haven't called them to find out. what
This
the
is so
equalization
crazy. This year is so crazy.
I just think, I can't imagine that they're any better off than we are.
No. So if we're all around 73, it's probably the same
Yeah,
thing.
The couple that I've seen, out of the few that I've seen, the best of them all was just about 80%.
So that's not too, so we're not
So-
off that
What town's
far.
that?
I don't remember.
Well, only because it's still, there's a lot to base that off too, you know, the town, what they offer, what they got, you know. As Bow was always the place to live because your
Yeah.
taxes would be low and you get all the.
Well, and, I don't think any of the ones I looked at did this, but some of the towns still are doing the, once every 5 years, we eval the whole town
Yeah,
instead of the rolling. And if they did that, say, last year,
yeah.
then they'd probably be close to 85, almost 90%.
Right.
But if it was, 2 years or 3 years before that, then they'd be in the 65, 70 range. So,
Yeah.
And you should keep in mind, and this has always interested me, is that even though we're at 73%, so say we wanted to bring that up to be 100, so we would raise all the assessments by 27%, your tax bill is going to be the same. I mean, just because of you have more value, the size of the pie is the same. So, I guess I'm not surprised, and it's not the worst thing that could happen, and I think we're going to see a turnaround. According to
some
the
of us are the
economists.
lucky ones that within the last year and a half, we got reval.
Yeah, really.
So we
Rightio.
get to bear that brunt.
Mm.
But we shall see going forward.
All right,
how
so
that
do
all
we have,
turns out.
so what has to happen?
So I have a main sheet which I would appreciate if you would sign. And I will send that into the DRA.
And,
He's got his fancy one, he'll find it.
oh yeah, they'll
Anyway.
find
Yeah,
that.
you know.
Here,
Paul
well,
gave me grief for so long.
That's
I had
right.
to get one big enough that I could find it.
Absolutely. What's on the front of that? What's that? Oh, wouldn't you like to know?
Oh,
I wouldn't show
jeez.
her.
This one.
So, yeah.
Well, that sounds awesome.
Yeah. Sounds very official.
Yes, jeez.
Oh, yeah,
I don't
right.
know. That's not very good.
I know. God. mine's the only one anybody can read.
That's right.
So they're gonna get after me in
Listen.
50 years from now.
That's how you know it's not me. If you
Uh-huh.
can read it, it's definitely not mine.
Yeah, right.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
All right. That moves us on to budget. And we
So-
lost somebody.
I had hoped, come on, there we go. We had spoken about the budget last time, and I had hoped at this meeting that department heads would be available
Okay.
so that you could talk about their budgets in the event you had any questions you'd like to ask or things of that nature. And
And I believe we have that list that we came up with at our work session.
we have I do have a very small list that most of the answers have to come from me actually, but as far as there was a question in the town clerk's budget as far as staff, there was a question in the police as far as staff. And I think you had made the mention on the highway budget, you were concerned that it was at the same and whether it was enough.
Okay. So since we have them here, let's go ahead and start with it. It looks like police are ahead of fire on the list, so I'll jump there first. Obviously, looking at this, the questions will be for, we've
Yeah,
actually
you had
got
put
our
your,
little
you had
notes
put
there.
notes on there.
So for full-time officer wages, we were expecting that that was up because of the expected raises that we're bringing things closer to market value. For the part-time officer wages, since we don't actually have the full complement of part-time officers, and we've been using overtime as well, which is not changing. Yet we haven't used the full amount of the part-time officer wages in the budget. What is the driving force for that going up over 5%?
The only reason we went up is we don't have to put that up because the part-time officers are gonna get the same wage. I mean, we're gonna give them $25 an hour, and so we're gonna keep them, everybody else is, all the other part-timers in the area are going to 25 an hour. We're paying 21 and change right now. So if we go a flat 25, keep the same budget that we got, actually, that one doesn't need to go up. Keep the same amount that we have. I think we did it all right across the board, but that's not gonna change. Because they're gonna, if they go to 25 an hour, that's gonna be a big raise for them.
Okay,
So that can stay the same. That doesn't have to go up.
So it had been set at 37,203.
Yes,
And
and
your
it can
request
stay
was
the same.
39,398.
No, so 37,203 is good.
Okay. Oops. Yes.
I think that was my mistake. I was putting it right straight across the board.
And then the other question would be secretary wages going up almost 6%. We know that there had been a large raise last year. Is this expectation of additional hours or what's driving this one?
It's not gonna be an expectation of hours. She's still way below average for what most of them are getting in the area. Way below. Most of them are getting $28 an hour. And Hopkins is paying the secretary $28 an hour, and she's working 32 hours a week. And as Franklin's got 4 secretaries. This smallest secretary is a kid out of high school that they're using. And they're paying her $25 an hour. We don't even pay Michelle that.
Okay. So I think that answers my questions there. Any further questions from the board on these?
How many hours do you have do you require for a secretary?
She works 2 days a week, and it's 6 hours one day, actually 12 hours, 15 hours a week, actually, 15 hours a week. and then she takes 1 day off at the end of the month because she works downstairs instead. So it's 15 hours a week for 3 weeks, and then it's 8 hours for the next week, and then the rest she works down here.
And that's based on, it's about, so what does her hourly rate come out to be?
Right now
Or what
it's,
does the, yeah,
it's 20, I don't even know if it's 21. It's not even 21, it's 18 and change.
Doing that math makes it look like it
Yeah.
would be 22 and a half or so after the adjustment.
Right. It's like 18 right now.
and that salary basis, does that include all the benefits that go with it?
That's everything.
Well, that's part-time, so the.
It's
current
part, yeah, that's right, it's
Oh,
part-time,
okay.
that's why, it's everything.
Okay.
She doesn't have any benefits.
Oh,
That-
okay, okay.
She gets it through the town, through the
Oh,
downstairs.
okay, okay, that's what the, okay,
Yeah.
gotcha,
All right.
fair enough.
Any other questions or comments? Okay. That would move us to, this is just the service, fire department. So the question was regarding the member stipends. And the particular question is, how many members are there and were there? Because I believe there's been an increase in number of members. And so if that is true, we should probably be increasing the stipend count in a similar fashion so that they're getting the same sort of reimbursement compensation out of stipends.
Yeah, usually one leaves and then you get a new one, but I think we are like from 15 or 16 to like 22 at the moment. 20. I don't have the roster in front of me. I should have grabbed all that.
Okay.
I think there is 20.
So that's,
But, yeah.
Aren't stipends though, how many times people go out? If they go out more, they get more money,
Yeah, the people that put,
more hours
if
in.
they do 10 calls a week, then and then if you don't make a call, then you don't get in the
That's
percentage.
fair, that's fair.
So if you make all the calls, you make the most you can, and if you don't make any calls.
Right.
you
Well,
know.
that's fair.
so being that we know that there's more members and that this also hasn't changed in a long time,
We went that day at the town hall downstairs, we went back 10 years?
yeah,
from-
and I think it's changed twice since it was an hourly wage and they had to change it to stipends. So I'm going to suggest that we raise this to 30,000 from the 27,000 that's there. That's not quite in line with the with a jump in 5 or 6 members, but we've also had a member that we know just left. So I think that will be a good starting point and something that we should definitely revisit in the coming years as well. But I personally don't want to let this go another year while we try to figure out something perfect to just not have anything happen. And I think that seems like a reasonable round figure. I don't know what you think.
And then we pay for classes, that doesn't include paying for classes, right?
No, this is just stipends. The
Okay,
classes,
okay.
there's a separate
That's a
training
whole
line.
different thing, okay, all right.
I want to show them appreciation too.
And it's still cheaper than a full-time fire officer position, so,
Absolutely.
do you guys agree with that
Oh,
change?
yeah.
Okay.
Emmett?
So
Oh,
that-
I'm blessed. I'm grateful.
Do you have
and
anything else you want to throw
I
in?
know that
Yeah.
the rest of the people will be too. They're not there for the money, but at the end of the day, when you gotta buy a set of tires or gas is $3.50 a gallon, it does help at the end of the day. No doubt about it, but I know I can can speak for most of them. They're not there for the money, but it is kind of nice when you,
So that will raise the stipends line 11% and the overall fire budget 4%.
This was also the budget, Dave, you added a line for that reporting service.
Oh,
and that
yes,
was
that's right.
speaking
There's
about.
also the extra 1,000 from that,
Right.
which of course isn't actually accounted for in the past. So putting the two together is a total of a 4% increase. Moving on would be highways and streets. Yes, highways and streets.
thank you very much. I mean, I know for,
And, you know, one of the biggest parts of budgeting is making sure that you take care of people appropriately. Otherwise, you can't manage. So, in the highways and streets, the concerning part is that in remaining balance, we see that this was fairly well overspent in several lines this year. I know it was a go to make up for not doing as much in the previous year. So the question is really, is this budget actually appropriate to go forward? Or does it really need to go up? I would have expected, for example, at least labor to go up some, based on the fact that everything is up. So,
He has volunteers.
oh yes, everybody volunteers to do road work.
Yeah, really.
I mean, I tried to hold the budget right to the T because I know that the money,
And it's very appreciated.
some people have it and some people don't. And at the end of the day, taxes are hard to come by. But, I mean, if we hold their own and the cost of stuff goes up, at the end of the day, it's less things that will get done. Because at the end of the day, it's the overall number at the very bottom at the end of the year.
Correct.
It's like I was talking to Dana about the budget. And, you know, if our fiscal year went from June to June on the highway department side of it, I mean, you could go right to the penny. But without that crystal ball, I mean, they always said to have 40 grand in November, to have for November and December, but all these little piddly storms, you might as well have 10 inches as to have an inch and a half. It costs just as much to put it back. And back in the day, right now, if it was snowing in the morning, at 4 o'clock in the morning, Merrimack Valley School District's on the phone, and are your roads ready for my buses? And you have to be out there and be ready. But it's like Dana and I were talking the other day about the calcium line. But if you look on that, you've got highway equipment, labor, shimming, patching, supplies and parts, highway signs, calcium chloride, fuel and rental. There's nothing there that says anything about a culvert. There's nothing there that says anything about a load of gravel. You know, it's,
Well, and a lot of those come out of our CRF and ETS.
it does, but like,
So I guess the real question is, you said that you want and expect to hold the budget, but our question is really, is that realistic?
well, a year ago, a year ago, salt was $49 and change. This year we paid $77. That's a 33% increase just within 1 year. Cutting edges, steel is almost, I mean, it's doubled, tripled. I mean, the cutting edges, that carbide blade was $100 and something a foot 2 years ago. I haven't got any lately. I don't know. I need to order some. I mean, I have no clue what that stuff is now, but
What's your fuel doing too? Because I mean, I was just looking at.
it's
our-
right there.
Oh, good.
It's-
It's our year end. It's amazing how much
It-
we still went up, well, like 100
it-
grand in fuel.
Right.
But we didn't really do
No,
a lot.
I mean, after $3.50 a gallon, it's in my contract that the town starts whatever, but we're still right there at the 350 mark. I mean, it's gone up $1 a gallon and whatever, and yeah, Huckleberry comes once a week, every 2 weeks at the most, leaves 1,000 gallons. It's a lot.
That's
Have
for
you
your
looked-
truck fuel, you mean?
Yeah.
Can we go to the state?
Well, we
Places.
talked about that years back, but if that one truck was just committed to work for the town,
Yeah,
well, maybe, but, you know, I do that's a touch 99 situation.
oh, okay.
And without getting into more detail of stuff, I just, it would be nice, but there's a fine line there.
Okay,
If-
I see, because you're not, if you were the road, if you were
Well, no.
like the road department, like they do in Boston, they got a regular
Right,
road, so that's a
right,
whole different,
right.
so, but because it's
Or-
your private truck.
Right.
Okay.
Or my trucks work for the town by the hour.
Yeah,
If they work 10 hours, they get paid 10 hours. So I can take that truck and go do something else with it. So if it had your fuel in it, it's hard to, whatever. If that one truck was just for the town of Webster all the way
Yeah.
along, it
but
would
you
be-
can't afford that, you can't have
Right.
a special truck.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so,
All right, so,
there is different,
It keeps it cleaner.
yeah.
yeah,
There's,
right.
in
Because
the-
somebody would.
There will. In
go
the
drive you
past,
nuts.
in the past, it just, like you said, it wouldn't keep it clean. It wouldn't be, and they would always, yeah,
Somebody be always looking for trouble.
yeah.
And you'd have that time that you spent having to drive there.
Well, that's what I was thinking too, more than anything,
Yeah.
because you'd have to go to Concord to get it,
Yeah,
wouldn't you?
Concord,
No,
yeah.
we can get it in Franklin or over to exit 7 or over to
Oh.
Warner
Oh,
at exit 9.
right, because, oh,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, that's what we do with the fire trucks.
yeah. Oh.
That's what we do with the police vehicles. We get.
No, they
state
must be
pumps now.
locked in, aren't they? Because I just locked in for 3 months, which I've never done in our whole lives.
Yeah, they-
Yeah, and how much was that?
3 on road and 250 for off.
Well, I know for regular gasoline, we pay $1.97.
Yeah, that's awesome.
How much?
$1.97.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that's
But I mean,
locked-
granted, we
that's
we
locked
don't get
until
that bill,
September.
that bulk with me. We buy a lot of fuel, there's no question.
But they have to pay taxes, well, we don't.
Right,
Yeah.
and that's locked till September.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. So do you, but because that you do the private and that, it's, you
Can't do that. 'cause-
you don't get the same,
No, I don't get I don't get.
or
the-
locked in, you're
no,
not locked in right
No,
now.
I mean,
I don't know. Scary, I'll tell you, that's
it
what,
is,
that,
it
'cause
is,
that-
and then the insurance, I mean, the insurance
insurance
has
has gone
just
up.
gone right out of
yeah.
sky. I mean,
Dana's the only one that gets cheap health insurance.
Yeah.
Insurance is killing this country.
So,
Yeah, I'm with you though.
you know.
But is that built in that, Emmett? I mean, do you have I know that our premiums have gone up, workman's comp.
Oh, yeah,
everything.
no, our insurance has gone
Yeah.
sky high. We just did an audit and we just had to do a whole new, whatever's once a yearly thing.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
Susan takes care of all that.
Yeah.
I just say, okay, dear, thank you.
Yeah,
But, no, everything, and where do you start and where do you stop, I guess is where I'm at, to try to,
you're asking
I
if he
mean-
wants more money, and he's thinking, well, yeah, hell yeah. Right, if you didn't, but
no,
I get where
just-
you're coming from, is you're just not quite sure where everything's gonna fall. And Dave, what you're trying to get at is you just don't wanna see something in the rear.
Right, and that's what we have for money. It's what we can do for work.
So with the board's permission, I'd like to edit some numbers and then ask you if you think they're okay. Just because I think it'll be easier to do that.
I don't think I've ever sat in a budget meeting where we give people more money than they have.
Yeah, right.
You know, it's not
I would
something
come work
I'd
for
like
you.
to do, but-
And I can explain,
Well, for like calcium chloride, who knows what that'll be next year, right?
right, Right, but
right? Is that because that's oil-based?
that shows that I'm over budget, which I am. And the reason that I am over budget is we did the work on the Mutton Road.
Yeah?
We hauled, I don't know, 70 loads of dirt in there and 3 days with the machinery. And I took that out of general maintenance, which I should have took that out of road preservation
Oh, yeah.
because I had so much money there and it would have been turned back over. So I miscalculated that by so that is why I'm overspent this year's budget, is because that money, and I know it's
Okay.
all whatever's, but just so you folks know, Dana and I talked about that, and,
The issues with budget that I can see, it's great to come in and keep your budget as low and you look like a hero. But at the end of the year, if it's not possible for you to sustain it, there's no sense to trying to do that. And I think the way things are going, you definitely need to bump that budget up a little bit. And I hate to say that, but
Can you move or click on something else and
Because
see if it updates?
You did a lot of stuff that nothing moved, didn't you?
can I click on something else? Sure.
Yeah. Oh, there we go.
Okay, sorry.
So this is my suggestion, because we just heard from him that some of this was not supposed to be in that.
Right.
And so let's assume that that wouldn't be there next time. My suggestion is basically that the 4 lines that are negative, we round up a bit and give it a total of a 1% increase for highways and streets budget. And it's not a lot, but it should help each of those line items and hopefully make none of it be negative next year.
Now, can we use any, is that, those ARA funds or whatever, is that all spent, or we're gonna get some more next year too? Can we do that on roads and things?
what are you talking about
Those
here?
government funds,
Well,
whatever they call them.
I have to tell you, the jury is still out. I'm still trying to see what we can do.
Right, and we're gonna get our block grant money, $77,000.
Well, yeah, that,
block
but this
grant.
is something different too,
Right.
but I don't know
Yeah.
where you can, I don't think even Dana knows where they're gonna say.
Well,
where you're
we've
gonna-
got, there's 4 criteria for the ARPA, and that road, if you were building a road because of COVID, I don't know why you would do that, but.
Oh,
Well, I
probably
can come up
covered.
with some reasons.
I mean, if I could do it with a straight face, but I mean,
Right.
it's,
Okay, so that's just to use for COVID
I was
stuff.
hoping to use some of the money for White Plains, but I was told I can't.
Yeah, originally they said we'd be able to
Yeah.
use it for infrastructure and COVID,
Oh, yeah.
and they're now trying to say, well, you can only use it for COVID.
However.
Well, though, to be able to get from here to over there, if there's a COVID situation, we need to do that.
I will give them your number. I guess, I don't want to see the town get into a situation when we go to report this down the road that we'd
So
have to
what,
pay it back.
so what other towns doing? I mean, if,
All I could say is Usman seems to be spending that money.
You
like- I
can
mean,
spend it on water and sewer, which possibly
Yeah,
has
water and sewer.
Well,
you
that
can-
might be,
Now,
yeah,
how
because
come?
that, all I write about is, well, they're putting
That's
this
just
one
one of
here
the
and
things
that one
that's
there.
applicable in
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
No idea why, but that's one of the.
okay, so you're in the same boat I am. There's no,
The other option is if you have lost revenue, and there's a calculation that you do on that,
In most cities,
haven't
We done have
most
that.
towns have not.
we've not
Yeah.
lost.
But if it rains up on Pearson Hill, that rain's gonna run to the bottom of the hill, and that has something to do with water.
Well, there's a
Okay.
point, Emma.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think Emmett and I should just get together. We
I
can come
think
up with some reasons.
But we have these ARPA funds. We're going to have a total of $200,000. We've received half of it. We have a few bills that I'm going to ask you to approve another bill. You had approved contingent on it qualifying last time. And I certainly want to use the ARPA funds as best we can to benefit the town. But the criteria is pretty strict. So it's not free money. It's-
Can't
So-
use it for Clothespin Bridge or White Plains or
So
anything.
if that is the case, to use it for COVID, then you could buy radios for a fire truck or for something like that, because you have to have communications to what's going on.
Well, and that's why your cameras are gonna come out of the ARPA funds. PP, what do they call it? PPE
PPE,
thing.
yeah.
I mean, that obviously
So
qualifies.
how about the same for radios for the cruiser?
That's a whole new thing, yeah. Nothing for the police, no.
I know, they cut us right out on that.
You guys already okayed his radio, now I'm looking for one.
No, I know. But how come he can't?
I just was kidding.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if
We're
they're
gonna
gonna ask
try.
you to be creative, I mean, in a budget of the town, the money's getting tossed around like a washing machine, right? Can't
You
we-
know, I'm just kind of waiting and see what happens, and because there are other towns that are gonna pave the road for us.
Absolutely.
When I talked to the NHMA, and I don't disagree with NHMA because they're going right by the criteria, by the letter. But I'm still thinking there's got to be some sort of wiggle room in there, because we've got all these towns that are in the same situation.
All right, and still, what is a COVID situation? Well, I mean, we could really, well, even,
Well, and of course now who knows what's going on now? We're kind of back in it, but
yeah. But you know what I mean, it's interpretation. And I could sit here and I feel like I could say why White Plains with COVID, you might have somebody on this side instead of going all the way around, Emmett using his radios, you know what I mean, that to me, I can't believe we can't get some of it for that.
well, it's
And there's a water issue.
and yes, I mean I've said that too, as far as I can say it, but I've got to be able to have.
I know, and I
facts
get where
take
you're
that.
coming from. You don't want to
Yeah.
come back to us and say,
Yeah.
oh, well, I tried, but that didn't work.
Other things that we hope we'll be able to take out of there are things like the door and key fobs, because then we can go to touchless for opening and closing and locking. We also get the glass so that you can see in and out whether someone's waiting, if we have to go back to that sort of situation, etc. So hopefully we'll be able to take that out of there instead of out of the town hall improvements. But we have to see. We try as we go, but we have, how many years do we have to spend this?
I
6?
think there's 6, yeah.
Oh, wow, that's a long time.
Yeah.
So my guess.
Well, they haven't got it down there, the government yet.
Yeah, my guess is that we'll see some of this stuff used, this year. A bunch of cities are going to use it for loss of revenue, like immediately, and everybody else is going to be waiting to use it in another manner, and then it will somehow get approved in a couple of years to be used in a different way.
It's kind
My
of what
hope.
I'm thinking, yeah.
But whatever we can use it for now, yeah, we want to do it that way.
Gotcha. But it's not like time's gonna run out, and it's not like,
Yeah, it's not like we only have this year.
Well, after 6 years, if we haven't spent it, we have to give it back.
right.
We're not giving it back.
Which, yeah, exactly.
Dana, we will get creative.
We'll find
My
something.
friend.
I can be very creative, but I'm
So-
not always
So
agreeing
what do you
with.
think about the change in the budget here? And Emmett, what do you
Yeah, I was
think
gonna
about
say,
this?
well, I looked to him, I mean, I don't wanna tell him his business.
Oh, no, I mean, I'm grateful for it. I mean, what I can only do for the townsfolk and take care of whatever is with what we have to work with. If I'm the road agent, well, Steve's the road agent in the morning.
No.
You can only do what you have to take care of at the end of the day, but,
I think that
I'm
change
not gonna argue.
represents 10% of a penny
Right.
on
Yeah.
the rate.
It's not much, and
It sounds
being
Because
the
we-
1% increase and kind of rounding stuff, I think it makes a reasonable dent in this to then look at again in the next year, when in theory we have some other larger items coming off of our sheets. So
because I think Wendy and I figured this up 10 years ago. And they don't have the paperwork in front of me to prove it. For every $1,000 somebody pays in property taxes, $150 if it goes towards the roads.
Not very much.
No, I
Sounds,
mean, that,
sounds about right.
that's not the projects and stuff, that's just the everyday.
Well, let's
So
get-
if you pay, yeah, $2,500, I mean, that's $125 it costs you to take care of your roads all year long out of one tax bill. So it isn't a whole lot, and but it will make it work.
And to be clear, if we aren't changing anything else in here, which we may or we may not, if we change nothing else in here, including warrant articles, the operating budget goes up a little bit, the warrant articles go down a little bit, the overall that we would be requesting from the town would actually be down almost 0.4%. Or a little over $8,000.
That's good.
So
That's good.
we would be doing really well
That's right,
to do this,
exactly.
and that's including the various
What we've been talking about.
increases.
Yep,
we
And
took
that's
on.
funding all the capital reserves.
So he'd like
and-
6%? Right? He's thinking.
Let's see, where else in here do we have the questions? I believe you actually had something regarding process, because we were talking about stipends, because of course there's not just fire stipends, but there's our stipend, there's treasury stipends, and clerk stipends, and tax collector stipends, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, you had asked me to talk with the attorney about stipends, and if there was, I think we were searching for some sort of sensible way to approach them. And first, the other question I had, I wanted to be sure that paying the fire department using stipends was the preferred method, which it is, and so I'm glad to hear that. Basically, stipends are totally up to the board as far as what you want to do for a stipend. Obviously, a stipend for someone like the town clerk, that's a little different. I think of the town clerk, I know she's not an employee, but basically she's in, regular hours. She's paid a certain stipend, but it's almost like a employee's wages. Other stipends, such as the fire department, again, it's up to the board what they want to do, and it's a slippery slope. There's not really a good thing that you can say, this is the method that we should use. And every town does it differently. I spoke to 4 different towns, and when I spoke to New London, she said to me, geez, I wish you'd figure it out and let me know.
That's all I've heard.
So it is kind of, it's not a good answer, but it's I guess it's just
Well,
up
that
to
somebody
us.
doesn't have a magical answer that we're missing.
Right.
It's a big boat, that's.
Yeah, we're all
what to
floating,
do.
right.
And I wish she was here, because it's the town clerk that is the one that's kind of the outlier of all of the stipends, because that's, as he mentioned, more like a salary.
Michelle will be up
Yeah,
after
no.
8 o'clock.
Yeah, so like it's
Okay.
We're gonna be gone
Any
by
minute
then.
now.
Almost there.
You'll be in bed by
Go to bed, right?
Hey, listen, we just gave you 1%, settle down.
But
You can take the week off.
the attorney suggested that one of the options is, as part of a warrant article, that the town vote to set the compensation of the town clerk for RSAs by salary in lieu of statutory fees, which is kind of what we did. We removed fees but gave a stipend instead of a salary.
Oh, right, that shows.
With the salary to be set by the Board of Selectmen at a level comparable in the board's discretion to town employees who have similar levels of responsibility. And that would then put it into the same realm of, yes, it's an elected position, but if, for example, someone was elected that had no idea what they were doing and couldn't actually process your vehicles, then we probably don't want to be paying them that same salary. Whereas if it's somebody like Michelle, then we can go through the normal employee process and provide raises as per normal and expected for any employee position. And it doesn't throw off that, well, there's a stipend that's saying they should, have their own raise and so on and so forth. So I think that would clean up the process.
And that
I
have to
would-
go as a warrant?
That would be a warrant article. And as we're aware, we're likely combining that position with another one. So I think doing all of that in one warrant article at the time of changing the positions would make the most sense. And that would be actually for this year's warrant. So that the year after, when the election happens, it would then be able to have that newer position warrant.
You're gonna combine both things in one warrant article.
You're saying what the position is and how it's handled. in
That
one-
you're gonna
one article.
combine the positions.
Yeah, you say that, you say the compensation side, and then you also state the position. So it's gonna be the tax collector and the town clerk, much like most
Yeah.
many towns do.
Yeah,
And
no,
then
I
you put that
know.
in and cover the whole thing.
It sounds good, I just wonder about this town, but that's.
I would also suggest that the board have a meeting with Michelle and
Mhm.
talk about that. Because it's a big step.
Yes.
And I think it's a good step to think out clearly.
But I think that makes it, I think that answers a lot of questions for a lot of people, instead of, well, it's a stipend and it's always just putting in its own raise, 3% every year. Not saying that she doesn't deserve it,
Oh, absolutely not.
but the process has always been weird since they moved to doing this as a stipend.
Well, now you found out what we can do, so
Right.
it's not, yeah.
And so I don't think of this as penalizing or hurting anybody. I think of this as correcting process instead of being a detriment.
Well, thank you for pointing it out and looking into it, really.
And so hopefully, and again, I thought I guess it's 8 o'clock now, so we can run it by her, but that's kind of the thinking and my thinking and what we got from the attorney. Did we have other items in here?
For the highway,
Well, anything. I know you had the other budget notes because we were hoping to finish up the budget stuff. I think there was.
So do we,
wasn't there something
do
in
we,
warrants?
do we do anything on this, or do we move on?
Well, if you guys think
Just
that this
said
is
the 1%,
appropriate,
right?
then, yeah.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
You can
that's
see the
fine.
calculation at the bottom right for the
Yeah.
1%.
Yeah.
basically, I think the things that you're waiting for me to finish is you had asked me to compare the electrical bills from one year to the next. And that's fairly easy to do, but I haven't done it yet. The retirement system, I'm waiting to hear back from them as far as
But
to make
is-
sure we have the right amount budgeted. The other question is the legal expenses in the event the solar project takes place in 2022. Do we want to change the legal line? Do we want to leave the legal line alone and possibly overdraw it, even though we're reimbursed up to $5,000, which would show on the revenue side? So we could always explain an offset if you chose to do that. And there's a possibility it may not happen in 2022 either.
But as far as the department heads there, are we good with them?
I did want to, while Steve is here, I wanted to talk about a question that came up regarding the dam detail. For the dam, not the
Dam
dam
detail.
detail.
The damn detail.
The devil's in the details.
I guess the question that I had as far as this detail, is this really a detail if it happens while people are on duty?
Hey, can you explain a little bit about the dam detail?
Well,
So let me, I can explain.
go ahead, yeah.
So the Army Corps of Engineers contracted with us to go through the dam areas. And we go through one shift a week. And they pay us for that. So because the guy's on duty, we take that money and put it into because it's considered a detail for them. They pay us as a detail. We put it in our detail fund money. So we've got $9,000 in there now. So that's what's going to pay for the equipment for the new cruiser, so we don't have to get it from the people this year. And that's what it was originally slated for when I proposed it, well, 2 years ago and we did a warrant article on it, that the money would be set in the cruiser repair or cruiser replacement fund. And that could be used for anything for a cruiser, anything for equipment at all. So now we'll be able to fund everything out of that money, so we won't have to pick it out of the taxation.
I bring this up not because of the dollar amount. I bring it up because I want to just get the process of how we're doing it. Because normally the details, the officer gets paid a different amount for the
He also
detail.
gets paid a lot more.
And then when the payment comes in, we deduct what we spent for his salary plus the taxes, maybe expenses for the car,
Yes.
things like that. So I'm just looking for the process.
But there's really no expense. I guess there is an expense because we still go through there. Most of the properties in Webster, other than the fact that we go through Little Hill all the way into Salisbury and then come back out around. Because 3/4 of that is in Salisbury, not in Webster.
But that's a good thing. I remember when they finally were gonna do that, they had the police going in there. That's a good money maker in a way.
They would have contracted with Salisbury, but there is no police in Salisbury.
Yeah, right,
So
exactly.
they tried to contract with state police and they can't.
No, they,
State
what,
police
two
won't.
state police people
Right,
and,
they
hey, this is a gold mine for Webster, if you ask me. I
So,
think it's
I
great.
look at it this way, we're out on patrol anyway, if we go down through there and come back out around and come back into our own town, we make the money to help pay for that cruiser and the guys out there anyway. And for most of it that's in Webster, we're gonna search, we're gonna go through that anyway. The only section is that place in Salisbury that we go through.
So what's the problem? You don't like it, you don't
Oh,
like.
no, I don't have a problem.
He just wants to make sure it's all legit, that we put the money where we're supposed to.
I like the money. I'm not
I
trying
like green,
I'm not
too.
trying to grab his money, because it would go to the town. I mean, it's.
No, right,
And
yeah.
essentially it does
It
anyway.
would go anyway.
Yeah, it helps to
He has a
offset.
good point that it's saving up for equipment and things like that, but it's just different, and I want to be able to explain it when someone, you never know when someone may question that.
So I guess my question would be, if an officer goes on a normal detail, how does that process differ from the detail with Dan?
He's not on duty.
Okay.
So he gets paid a specific amount, plus we charge for administration fee for paperwork, plus we charge for use of the cruiser. So much per hour. I don't have a sheet with me. If I do.
And the government has no problems with it, they
Nope,
pay us.
no, we've been doing it for years.
If it ain't broke, don't try to fix it.
If I have a detail rate slip with me.
But it's just different because of the fact that they're already on duty.
We're already
And they're
on
already
duty.
getting their
Yeah.
salary.
Yeah, so if they're on duty, it seems like it shouldn't be like a normal.
So because we're on duty, we
It seems
don't
like it
take-
shouldn't be a detail to them.
We don't
No,
take the funds.
No,
We
no,
don't
I
take the
like,
funds out.
I think that whoever came up with that was thinking.
Right,
because-
it's not a duty, but the
Like-
government's paying you for a
Right,
duty.
right.
And the
Well,
government.
like, when I think of a duty for cops is when they're sitting on the side of the road in a construction situation, which liability-wise for them is a little different than driving through the government dam,
Right.
right? So that was fantastic, whoever.
I think
Come up with
that's
that.
great.
So it work, I think it works out a plus for us because it pays for our cruiser maintenance, well, it pays for the cruiser equipment in our cars. Or we can use it for anything. If something breaks in our cruiser, we can use it for that if we have to.
I think it's
If
great.
it's not in our budget or if it's over our budget.
So it is up to the board, and when the auditors asked me last year about it, I'm just trying to really snip all these little
Things that you got asked last
questions.
time, yeah,
that-
yeah.
Do the auditors have a suggestion of how it was supposed to be?
No, I think they just want the board to bless it.
Yeah, because how many places do the auditors work where we had the same thing with the dam and our police are
Well, yeah,
on the
it's
dam?
not
I
like
mean,
it.
and they look for things, I mean, you're paying quite a bit of money to be audited, so they have to find things.
And you're almost so spotless that that's
And we
all they
want 'em to
came up
find-
with.
Well, we don't want them to find things, we want them to
Well,
look.
you want them at, you know, yes, you do want them
Right.
to find things, but what I'm saying is that sometimes some things come up that you would never have thought about.
I think it's great.
Does normal detailing stuff also go into this fund, or is it only from the dam?
Percentage of that detail fund goes into it, because they take out the officers' wages, they take out any retirement, they take out social security, they take out taxes, and then the leftover goes into that fund. Is that what's right?
Yes, right. So that's the difference, you know.
Okay.
Right now, you've got officers that are on duty, they're being paid by the town. Now, I don't know if you have the argument that if the dam called and said, can you run down, it would be like if someone asked you to do a check someplace.
Absolutely.
You would do it.
Hmm.
Makes a lot of sense to me.
You know.
I think so, leave it the way it is, sounds good to me.
It's fun money.
Pretty awesome.
And I mean, like I said, most of the property is in Webster itself.
Right,
anyway.
and then you can just send Salisbury a thank you note.
Yeah, we're gonna do it anyway. Well, we charge them anyway.
Right.
I was gonna say, don't we charge if you go to Salisbury, which is only fair?
When we charge them, we
Yeah.
charge them a detail
Well, they don't
rate.
have that in
That's
their
And
right,
budget.
they don't
and that
have
money
it.
goes into that fund.
Yeah,
So I guess my question there is, I've seen that sitting in our, I've seen that sitting in our various budgets for being that detail revolving fund. Should that actually be in the budget for budget line items?
Can't be
Since
warrant
it's-
article, put it aside.
Are you asking about the detail, let's go back to the police.
There's a line item in there for detail, and
Yeah,
there's 5,000 in it.
yeah,
Mhm.
something like that.
That's so that if we have details and don't have money coming in, that the money's being spent, we can cover that money.
Well, that's what we're charging every time
Right.
detail comes.
So
So,
we do details if you're building, if Boston's building a road or
Right.
something,
Yep.
we send people there, that's
Yes.
a gold mine for us in a way, because the
Extra
town.
money, and that's extra income for the guys.
and we get the report of how, you know, how many hours, we know
Yeah.
how many hours, we know what the taxes are. I think Michelle does that for us.
She does.
And we put that in the revenue, and you don't see it quite the same way, of course, on the other side of the balance sheet. So that's what covers that. And those details, that's really straightforward.
Yeah.
Voters voted on it, there's no issues with
So this is not, that special detail then
it.
is
So
not-
what happens when they do the damn thing?
Do the damn thing.
The flood control, but it just comes out, all we get is a time card that the officer's on duty, it's within his shift.
Okay.
So it would go into the wage line.
But
So
that's-
is-
yeah.
So is where is the revolving fund shown?
It's a separate account, so it's not shown in this budget, but it is a separate account that is held by the treasurer.
Just for the sake of making it easy to see and understandable for boards in the future, is it, knowing that the software is funky, is it hard to put that on the report that also reports the balances of the ETFs and CRFs?
I would do it manually. There are 28 excess accounts right now, in addition to the general fund. So I can do it. It's, you know, it's not pushing a button because the software probably won't do that. But I
Would you
certainly.
like me to add it into my monthly report and put what the balance is every time? That would make it easier so you don't have to.
Yeah, that would be great.
One thing that would be good if we, and I think Michelle does this anyway, balances it back and forth so that we have the right amount, so that we both agree with what's in it. So if it's just the police revolving, that's fine, but for the other accounts, which are the impact fees, basically.
No, I wasn't thinking about the impact fees.
Very good,
Because
okay.
we've got the CRS, ETFs, and then this is kind of like that because we carry it over from year to year, according to the warrant articles, so.
Right, the
That's why I was
revolving
thinking
fund.
this would make sense in that same report.
Right.
But if he's gonna provide it in his reports, then that's fine.
Okay, good, that saves me.
Yeah, I'll just add it in. I can do that. It'll save him any
Awesome.
aggravation.
Oh, I never.
Can I help you with that aggravation?
I just thank you for this conversation, I just wanted to get that out.
Well, it's kind of a
Well,
cool thing to
Michelle's
point
got
out
her
too.
hand
It is.
Come up, Pierce.
I know I came into this after you guys had already started talking about it, but is this just for the Army Corps funds? That 100% of that is going in? To the
100% of the
police
Army Corps fund is the only one that's 100% going in, the rest is like our normal detail rates.
But could we do that, because you brought up Salisbury, and the only time that we go to Salisbury and to bill Salisbury is when the officer's already on duty too.
That's true.
So could you just make it more general and say that if the officer's already on duty and is billed a special detail, that 100% of that could go into the police revolving
That would be
fund?
the best way to do it, because we do, whenever we do bill Salisbury, it's because the officer responds at the request, because there's nobody there, and we're already on duty. And then we
It's
bill
not
them 4 hours.
as big of a sum as the Army Corps of Engineers, but it has happened a few times.
Has this been going on a long time?
The police revolving fund?
I mean, that was started in 19, but I mean, as far as the,
Salisbury,
the-
it was long before me,
the flood control money and things like
long
that.
before me.
I remember.
I like what she said though, for sure.
If
Yeah,
they're
Yeah.
already on duty?
Yeah, that's right, absolutely.
yeah.
That makes total sense to me.
Oh, I think it's great they pay, yeah.
Yeah.
I think the thing about the dam getting paid, I think I was a selectman at the time when
Well, they said they were afraid.
the
of
Army
it, yes.
Corps of Engineers
You're
came
not
and
dating
told-
yourself, are you?
God, Kim date me much older.
Okay.
So it looks like our other questions were, for example, around office supply stuff, and then Conservation Commission asking about trail maps and stuff. Have we heard anything?
I
know
asked the
we sent
Conservation
that.
Commission to send me what they plan to do with the money. I have not heard from them.
Okay.
The office supplies I spoke to Wendy about, and said, Wendy, is this a realistic figure, because we haven't spent that much this year? And she told me that she had charged off to different departments, different office supplies, which I guess makes sense, but I need to follow that up with her.
Okay. And so that was,
And I think those were all the only ones you had.
I think so. All right, so that brings us back to, oh, that was in, the office supplies was financial administration.
That's right, yeah.
So that brings us
Back to the
around
clerk.
to the clerk.
If you folks are good with me, could I be dismissed?
Absolutely. Thank
Enjoy
you
your
for coming.
evening.
Oh, I just gotta go put the wood to the stove
And put your feet right up there by the stove.
Just didn't sound right.
Hey, that's what I was thinking.
No.
I saw that.
No,
I saw that.
no, stove, her name is Mary Ann. but
Right.
I could probably, I don't wanna get in trouble for anything, but I'm gonna go home and put the wood to,
You don't want
Mary
the
Ann.
the fire. We have too much.
can you come help me?
That means it'll be faster.
Oh dear.
Can I talk to you,
Yeah.
Steve?
You sure can.
Thank you, folks.
Bye.
Matt. Have a good night.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Emmett.
yeah.
And keep those holes in that Clothespin Bridge so nobody
I will
goes
keep
through.
you awake, Dave.
She thought it was good for ice fishing.
Yeah, right, stand in the middle of the road.
Yes, he does, good. So,
Michelle, was it a good night tonight? A lot of registrations?
Oh, it's a really busy day.
Yeah. Where are we? Oh, yeah, the beginning of the year.
She was packed all morning.
Huh?
You were all morning.
Yeah.
Well, it's just as bad at night.
When I came back from dinner, you had 4 people in line. I was carrying my dinner down before I shut my door, so
we had a few questions as a board about the elections registration and vital stats budget area, which of course is basically yours. The first was to make sure that with the election wages and the supervisor's section, those are up 46 and then 93%. What causes the difference between those? I know that in general, they'll be up because of more elections this year, but what would make supervisors be 93 instead of the election wages be 46 and change?
Stumped already.
No, this isn't my report. Sarah submits this for the chairman of the supervisors. So that's under supplies.
Supervisors, the last
Supervisors.
line. And then election wages, which is the third line.
So I think that must be training, mileage, and supplies is the last line. Yep. That's what it says in the actual budget.
Oh, okay.
So it's not supervisors.
Well, it's supervisors of the checklist, training, mileage, and supplies.
So,
So I believe the training would just be because there's three the first election doesn't count because that's town, but then we'll have the two state elections.
yeah,
in the
primary
fall.
and,
So
yeah.
it's likely training time that they usually go to sessions and workshops in preparation for the state elections.
Okay. I thought that, maybe our line is just labeled funny then.
Yeah,
I can
because she
add- I
just
can
said it
add,
was
yeah.
training, so
Yeah.
supervisors training.
That's
Yeah,
showing as
in the-
330 and
What?
that's showing as budget account number line item 330 for them.
Yep.
Okay.
It says SOC, training, mileage, and supplies.
Okay.
Yeah, we can update that. We have the
Yeah,
technology.
I'll go through that in there. All right.
Better.
Yeah, Dana, it just wrapped to the next
That's
line.
better.
That's why this one says supervisors, but then underneath it,
Oh,
it's
it wrapped.
training, mileage.
Oh, okay.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense.
All right.
And then the election wages, of course, because we're expecting the extra election.
Two extra elections.
What are the two extra ones?
The primary and the general.
Oh, okay, okay, the big ones, the biggies.
We actually have a meeting tomorrow night with the moderator and one supervisor to start planning for March.
We have a really good, between the moderator and those checklists, they're really hot, they're good.
Try to be
You
all on the
know
same
their
page.
stuff. Not that you're in, Michelle, you're still in there too.
So the second question was for deputy clerk wages. I know we had talked briefly about doubling the hours, but I would have expected 100% change instead of 108 and change percent here. Is that also based on a pay difference of expected hiring, or what else is driving that?
Some of it is pay, but that's, I budgeted for $19 an hour versus 17, just because of all the, nobody's gonna come and work for 17 these days when they can work at Amazon or McDonald's or whatever. So that's a change in the cost, but I don't pay them the 19. I guess it would be, it's there if they come in with all the experience to pay them that, but,
Were you thinking additional hours in that?
as well as,
Yeah.
additional hours, because, so not only doubling the hours to 10 hours a week, it was also more training, or I put in time for training, because if it's a new
so
person, they're gonna have
you
to.
added additional hours for training above and beyond.
Yes,
the
so I did
on-the-job training. Okay.
10 hours a week for 50 weeks, figuring they might take a couple weeks off vacation or sick weeks or something, and then 10 hours with 5 days of training.
Okay.
I had 7, but then when I looked at my formula, it only had 5. So I put it down to 5,
Okay.
which then totals 295 hours for the year.
All right, thank you. And then the last one is, of course, the town clerk stipend. I know you've typically been submitting the 3% change. What do you want to tell us about it?
Sell yourself, Michelle.
I'm not but it sounds nice.
She was selling everything else, so yeah, I know, that's the hard part, isn't it?
Getting all embarrassed, poor girl.
Um,
Red.
it's very hot up here. No, it really is. When you walk through the door, it's very hot, but I'm also.
Well, we're leaving Dana in charge of the thing, because the last time we were all
We're
freezing.
frozen,
but-
that's why. I must be cold this time.
But I'm with you.
Um,
Has nothing to do with our age, does it? To why we're so warm?
I can't sell myself, other than I feel I do a really good job, and
That's selling yourself. Yeah.
I guess my actions speak for what I put down.
Okay. So to go along with the stipend thing, is there has been, of course, this giant thing about calling it a stipend when, for example, last year stipends didn't change, but then that did, and so on and so forth. And we've been working on trying to come up with proper solutions for stipend amounts for everybody, whether it's fire or us, which I think we're just not changing anything there. And especially yours, because yours is the most like a salary, but it's not a salary. So in thinking about that and talking to different towns and then legal as well, we think we have come up with a possible solution, and would like to get your thoughts on that. Especially as we are moving into the likely combination of the positions, which I haven't personally talked with you about, but I've been told that you are all for that. I guess I should ask you that first.
Well, funny you should say that, because I was just talking to Dana tonight about that. And you guys can do what you want, but I'm not sure I would support that at this point. And I,
Support what? You mean be in a combination thing?
yeah,
You'd rather be separate like you are now?
yes, and let somebody else run for tax collector. It doesn't mean I wouldn't, but at this point, I would want to hear what you had to say and how you would phrase the warrant article.
So,
Do that.
let me ask this question. Tell me, you must have a reason behind that.
I don't like all of this politics part of it. That's what it is.
Yeah.
So-
You mean the fact of, give me, as I'm fairly new at this politic thing,
She
so.
doesn't like running for things.
Oh, you mean the idea that you've got a job every day and then all of a sudden, something happens and you could be voted out. Is that what you mean?
Well, that is a possibility,
Well, 'cause
I
we-
guess.
Yeah. Not seen it in this, but I've witnessed it in another town where, she's probably been the tax collector for however many years, and then somebody decided to,
That they could do better.
well, whatever. And what ended up happening is, sometimes it can work good for the town, and sometimes it could be a bad thing. But I don't know who came up with all this voting of different jobs in the town sometimes, so.
Well, that's the issue with, especially the town clerk,
Yeah.
the elected position. If you live in the town, you can run for it.
Right.
And it's not a job really you can just roll right in and do.
Not
Right,
not that job,
exactly.
the
So, I
these
mean,
two
it's-
positions you're talking about is very, as you have.
I mean,
And one of my other piece is that it's hard enough, we continuously add hours to the deputy town clerk, and that it's still, I feel 10 hours, it still isn't sufficient to learn everything.
that's what I
that needs
think.
to- So then if you're lumping the tax collector piece into that same,
It's too much.
Thing.
You're almost like working full-time now. I mean, you're not, but it could be easily, but I could see that. The tax collectors could be
well, that was my hope, was to, if they were combined, then it could be more of a full-time position with more open hours to the public, which I know that they would welcome just as town clerk, let alone, maybe not so much tax collect, but. Russell probably sees a lot of it on Monday afternoons when I'm closed, and all the people that come in looking for me.
So, regarding the combining of the positions, the general thought was that, yes, it would be more hours, it would be more like a full-time style position, and then also combining the fact that both have a deputy side to them as well. So both the deputy tax collector, which I believe currently is you, and the deputy clerk, you would then be able to either have two separate people for that, or have the one person that gets more time, more training to help offset you and or have more open hours. So that was kind of the thinking of it. Is you're saying that that doesn't make sense to you at this point? Or?
It makes sense. I guess I just would want the support of the board to do that.
Okay.
You mean support from us in the sense that, and I'm, you say things so well, but more or less, you got deputy, which, so, when we talk about combining the two, right? What you're saying is the backup person to you, right? Is that become the deputy? Okay. You want to make sure that if you decide that this could work and you get elected to do it, you want to make sure that you have the support of the board to have backup. Is that what you're saying?
Well, and I would be really interested in knowing how the warrant article would be crafted to, because I don't want to lose the benefits, the health benefits. And if the new warrant article was written in such a way, so my solution to that was don't combine them. Just leave it as it is.
So, here will be the portion that was also being talked about as far as the stipend. And this is from the town attorney when he was asked. And it would be an article basically saying, shall the town vote to set the compensation of the town clerk per RSA by salary alone in lieu of statutory fees? This was basically done with the warrant article that already happened, except it was set as a stipend instead of a salary. Salary to be set by the Board of Selectmen at a level comparable in the board's discretion to other town employees who have similar levels of responsibility. Or the selectmen may act on this matter. So that part of it is what allows it to then be treated as a salary like an employee position and then carry all of the employee benefits. Whereas with the stipend, and even the way the warrant article was written was actually ambiguous, the stipend is different and makes it kind of weird, but this way we could do the appropriate looks at and say, you're doing an excellent job, we think you should get, this larger raise, or we think that there's a cost of living change, so because of inflation, so we think you should get more of a raise. Whereas with the stipend, we're somewhat limited in that.
So can an elected person get a salary? I thought it had to be a stipend.
When passed through a warrant article in this manner, yes. Otherwise, no. And so that would be, basically we turn the elected official town clerk into a normal full-time employee along with the tax collector portion of it.
But then it's still elected, so if you don't get it's always confusing the line between employee
Yes.
and elected.
Mhm.
Because I was always told if you don't get reelected, you can't file for unemployment.
That's probably true.
Yeah,
came
that
up
would
with all
still
this?
be true, because we're only changing that it's a salary.
And it's not changing it from elected, you'd have to have a separate warrant article to change the position from elected to appointed.
It
Yeah.
can't be appointed.
Only tax collector.
Oh,
Only
that's
tax
right.
collector.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay,
So we can.
that makes sense.
We can do it in this manner and combine them and put it all as one warrant article so that it's combining and making it so that it's easy and it's obvious that it's all one, whatever the employee benefits are the benefits that you get. As opposed to every single time anything changes, or for example, they're gonna have dental added to it. If any of that were to change, then we would need an additional warrant article to do that specifically for the
Because it
town
wasn't
clerk
in that
position.
other.
Correct. So that's one of the easy ways to adjust for and
So
deal
could it
with.
still be done without combining it? Like just to make it cleaner?
Well, that should be possible without combining it.
Are you
'Cause I-
saying like the same person holds the two positions? Is that like you're saying not combining it?
I just want while I thought it was a brilliant idea back in September when I talked to Dana about it first, I guess I'm just second guessing the impact on the town if it was one job and that person left. Then you've got two critical pieces of the town in one position that nobody's fulfilling.
That's a good point.
So I completely agree with your concern. And my point of view on that is, however, that with the combination of them, it allows you and the deputy to have enough time where there would actually be somebody that, you know, God forbid something happened to you, that person would actually be able to do most of the job instead of a little bit of the job filling for some hours. And so that's kind of the hope there with the combination. I guess you can tell us whether you think that would work.
Well, I just think it would definitely have to be more than 10 hours a week.
Oh, yeah. But again, it would be the combination of both deputy hours and so on as an initial start before we even looked at going further than that.
But I think when the position is combined, it would just be one deputy.
Likely. Or I would assume that would likely be the case if you were training somebody up that way.
So
And
there'd be you
hopefully-
and then one other person. Well, if you combine those two positions, it would be
Yeah.
Michelle's here and then the person, your backup guy, person, whatever,
Mhm.
here. How many hours would you foresee? Would that make it easier to maybe hire somebody to do something part-time like that? I mean, how many hours were you thinking? I have no clue what
I don't know.
it would take. I know what she's saying, trying to train somebody 10 hours a week.
And it's so hard
That's hard to
to
find
pull
anybody.
other towns because there's some towns that are smaller than Webster and they work full-time. And there's other towns that are bigger and they don't work as many hours. It's really hard to get a consensus, I guess.
Sorry, I'm trying to find it
Do you have a suggestion on what you think hour-wise, as being with your, history of being in different towns, as a backup to her on both positions?
Well, I guess I really don't right now. Most of the towns that I've worked in are bigger and they've been open full-time.
Hmm.
Or maybe I guess the last one, I guess you took Fridays off, something like that, but more or less 8-hour days.
What would your hours then consist of if it was a full-time position?
It all depends on when the other person would be able to work because the person I had in mind couldn't ever do Mondays. So, I was considering changing to Wednesday evenings, which benefits me because then I could come to select board meetings at a decent time than after I closed. But
Michelle and I have had the conversation, and I fully support the deputy having enough time to learn the job so that if Michelle's out or on vacation.
Me too.
And I'm not saying anything about anybody, but it's very difficult in working 5 hours a week to learn that job.
All day long, yes. No, I
and it seems like every few years we're increasing more and more. When my deputy first started, it was 2 hours every other week. there's no way. Then went to 2 hours every week. Still not enough time. And then it's just slowly increased to 5 hours a week.
Well, everything is so detail oriented now. It's not like the old days. It's
Well,
everything's
that's
done.
exactly
They-
it, Dee. I mean, I
Yeah.
had someone the other day tell me, we really don't need an administrator because the select board could do it.
Oh, right.
And I'm not saying you couldn't. I'm just saying.
I'm saying we could.
Who's that person? They running?
I will say that, well, it's technically possible we couldn't.
Yes,
And you could have seen that with the select board when we had no employees.
Well, and I guess, so the point I'm just trying to make
Yeah, where's
is,
his back?
it's a different world. There's so much
No,
more.
it is, right.
Yeah.
Too much, and I'll tell you, I think you guys do a great job. And I really do. I mean, you can come, you have all, most of the answers, you'll find answers. Before, we've had other people that didn't even want to help you sometimes, and I kind of like the idea that you're not even from the town, so there's no prejudicial things about anything. We show them. And so that makes it, good.
That does help, because I have no dog.
Right, you
in
have
this
no
fight.
axe to grind or anything, you just try to be
Although I will
helpful.
say, and because we're on camera, I mean, I take my job very seriously.
Yeah, oh, you
And-
do.
And I appreciate the people at Webster supporting me, and everyone,
I think
really
you
has.
do I think you
even the
guys-
characters are nice.
And it certainly helped keep me busy.
We're not bored.
It's our chair that looks
I know. I'd like to know who that person said, the selectmen could do it. But really,
I'd like to thank them for their confidence.
I can tell you later.
Holy moly.
So, if
So
it
no
were me,
decisions have to-
I would be thinking that we would have to sit down and decide, talk about what those hours would be. I would guess that especially if it's combining both positions, it would probably be more in the 15-hour range, especially if we're also talking maybe more open hours.
For the deputy.
Yes. And so that's just my thinking on the matter.
Yeah, and I thought earlier when I said to you, I think that you really need to meet with Michelle to kind of work those things out, to kind of come up with what makes sense hour-wise, what makes sense if the board's going to support changing it to one position, or whatever in the go forward.
And to be clear, that's not in or being decided in this budget, because it would be a warrant article for the next election,
Right.
so it would be the budget following this.
So I have a question. Is it hard to find capable help for only 15 hours a week?
Well, I've never had that many hours to
Oh, okay.
work with.
All right. So you think it would be?
But it's been a challenge
Oh,
for,
I would think it would be tremendously difficult.
wait, that's what I'm thinking.
I would
too.
say the same thing.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, listen,
And
this
I'm
economy's
limited-
not gonna stay like this forever, you
I'm
know what I mean?
limited to Webster.
Yeah.
I can't go outside of town.
Even for the deputy getting allowed to? I thought that could be a higher position from.
Oh, okay. Oh, so it has to be a Webster
Not for
resident.
clerk. Assistant, if I had an assistant, but then the assistant doesn't automatically become clerk once,
That's right, because it's a clerk for the town, so you have to be a resident.
Okay. That makes sense.
There's no black and white lines anymore. There's always like a line and then there's 20 lines below it. By the time you figure out what's going
Would
on.
you anticipate it being easier or harder to find a deputy with more hours?
easier.
Okay. So then I think, and again, this is just me, I think then it makes more sense to have the combined positions, because that then makes it much easier to say, well, we're gonna need all of this extra hours for that position. Does that make sense to you? Or-
It does. I guess I'm just,
Tired?
well, that,
We didn't ask.
I think there's been reservations expressed of not my ability to do the work, but the workload in the timings that it happens, as far as tax bills coming out during, a general election time, or that type of thing, or you're closing out year end and you're for taxes, and but I I don't know, I haven't had enough experience with tax to know all the ins and outs of that, because it's the same thing. I don't spend all the time with the tax collector. I can accept payments and make a deposit. So if something happens to her, it's kind of like Dee was saying with Barbara, the prior clerk. I was here, I had all of, like 14 hours of experience before she was gone.
And then she died, so that was and, you know, I hate to say it, but that's sometimes, I mean, who would ever thought? She was only 53 years old.
How many hours does Karen usually, would she say she puts in?
I don't know, I know
I
it's
think it
more than just
depends
the
on the
2
time
hours
of
that
the
she's
year.
open to the public.
But yeah, I was gonna say, it's more than just open to the public,
Yeah.
because she's gotta reconcile all the books and all the records and the papers and,
You know,
Just
tax time,
folding
she's
the
quite
tax
busy.
bills alone.
Yeah.
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 So, something would have to be put on the warrant this year
To make it an electable
to
position.
make it an electable position in '23 when the terms are up.
Correct. And so that's why we were talking about ways to do that and to write the warrant article appropriately, and the same with salary and so on, so that it would make sense.
Russ, did you have something you wanted to say?
Oh, it was just gonna be a comment about the hours. As somebody who's worked as an assistant town clerk, and I've also done some of the tax collector work, I was thinking of something like in my position when I did it, I was 28 hours, and then there was flex time built in. So during tax season, I had more hours, because I needed to be there more often to collect tax bills, same thing with elections, because the town clerk would be doing election stuff, so I would be helping out more on the motor vehicle side while the town clerk did the election. And you can kind of schedule around that, maybe put some flex in the schedule. And that also could account for some of the training. What was the thought?
God, you've done everything. Oh my God.
That was my
You're a
last
young
job.
Well, there we go, you can be back up, we'll just add a
There we
couple
go.
more hours.
You just have to move to Webster.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Move to Webster.
He tried. They didn't let him in, no.
Reasonably priced housing in Webster is a challenge.
Well, that's what I'm
Any housing in Webster's a challenge.
True.
Well, no, there's reasonably priced stuff. It just goes away in
seconds.
seconds. And sometimes it doesn't even make it to the market, because I'm like, I never saw that go for sale.
That's right. Don't jump on it right now. Of course, that will, hopefully that will not keep doing what it's doing, but who the heck knows?
So we do need to have what you're going to support. Are you going to put a warrant article on? How do you envision the job to be?
Not, do you want to figure that out tonight?
No, but
Thank you.
yeah, but I'm just saying that.
You have till February 1st,
Um,
was that the deadline?
And basically, we figure
One
it out
moment.
for our next,
At our next meeting. Yeah.
because we need to have our warrants and stuff written before we do our budget hearing stuff.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, exactly. And that's February 11th is the last day for the first public hearing, to have at least one public hearing, is how we word it.
So by February 1st, we should have our ducks in a row.
Yes, yeah.
Because I'm gonna need anything that's going on the ballot.
Correct.
I think you need that, right, by the 31st?
Oh,
The
Wasn't
first.
it the first?
The first, I
I
think
think
it
it
was,
was the
yeah.
first.
Is it, I forgot
Me
to
too.
announce it, if it's true, isn't it now, or is it shortly that if people want to try to get elected, they turn in something
The
to
filing period?
you? Yeah,
Yes, that's later this month.
okay, that starts later this month. Okay.
Yep.
So we can announce that at the next meeting. So, yeah. I guess it really is going to boil down to, I mean, I think we all think it makes sense on paper, and it's an implementation detail of to whether it makes the right sense. And so I would like to suggest that we move forward with it and make it work with appropriate hours for a deputy, if that's, is that the primary concern, is having appropriate hours for the deputy, so that you will be able to have some time when you need it, and you'll have somebody appropriate for doing the full backup, so you can actually take a vacation?
Yeah, and not like from Thursday to Sunday.
I mean, if that's the actual concern, then I hope we could meet that concern.
Can I think about it?
Absolutely.
I was gonna say, I don't think she's jumping.
You know, but
Your other concern was the fact of, but I think you settled that with the whole, not stipend, but.
Yeah, he said the
It'd be a package,
legal,
right?
the legal piece said that it could be a
Yeah.
salary.
Mhm.
Right. And that's probably a better thing, right?
To me, it's just a word. It was more,
Well, though he can make the, between the stipend and the salary, makes your brain really think about it. Because I'm like, okay, what, you know, but.
I think it was more the other piece of the benefit piece of that, right, Dave?
Well, and in making it in the warrant article in the salary, we would basically say and treat it as a full-time employee for the purpose of benefits.
Yeah.
And so we can write it all in an appropriate way to make all of that happen, instead of everything is piecemeal and separate. So that way, if it happens for our employees, she gets it.
So it's just cleaning things up a little bit.
That is the hope.
But
It's
then
like
if
you
it's
said-
not combined, would you still change that wording? Or leave it as it was in 19? Would you still want to clarify that?
I personally would like to clean it up, because then it makes it a more normal situation. And then it's not, well, why is a stipend changing? That's only supposed to be reimbursements and, you know, for a volunteer elected position, et cetera. Like, a lot of those arguments go away when you've eliminated a salary. So,
And that wouldn't have to be on the ballot itself. That could just be in the warrant at town meeting part, correct?
yes, as far as I'm aware, that would be a standard warrant article, just like any other at town meeting.
Okay. Can I just let Dana know, or do I have to come back to the next meeting?
I think that's probably fine.
This is making funny. Yes, that's fine.
Why?
Yes.
Go for it.
I was gonna say, no, come back.
I mean,
See
we
our
like
lovely
seeing you
faces.
here,
That's
so-
right. Isn't this fun?
I don't like being on camera.
Well,
Uh,
no, but that's why it's shooting at Dave.
But you're so fortunate.
You are.
Old hag.
All
Good?
right. So I think that takes care of that. And I would suggest then that, actually, I would move that we accept this as our draft budget for the public hearing pursuant to Dana double checking the electric utility line and the
Retirement.
retirement.
Yeah.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Yay, budget's done. At least for now.
Now, and I should have asked before you voted, but what did you want to do about the legal line with the solar project?
I
I
would leave it.
I would suggest you leave it.
I would leave it.
And if it's overdrawn, you can point to the offset.
Yeah, right,
I
exactly.
think that makes sense. Because this is more what we are expecting that we as a town would use instead of what we'd use and
Yeah.
immediately get reimbursed for. And so I think it's more reflective of the true budget this way.
I do too.
I am going to write the warrant articles for your next meeting, except for this one that we need to talk more about.
I would actually like you to also write up a draft for that, so that both
Okay.
we and Michelle can see it. And that way, we'll have something to start discussions on, unless she decides that, no, that really doesn't make sense.
Okay, I can
But
do
wouldn't
that.
this year's one be just to combine the positions?
Essentially, it would be making the new position that would be elected next year.
And And so it would be spelled out.
Like
It's more
everything
than
would be
just
spelled out.
the verbiage to combine the two.
Yeah, because then it's all in one and it's done. And then you don't have to think about it again.
It's
It
really
makes a lot of sense to me, but.
contacting NHMA because they've done this before
Mhm.
and get their
Yeah.
article.
Yeah, because we've got that, and we've got the combination stuff, and we've also got the salary portion from town council. So I think putting those as one, this is the new position and how it will be elected and compensated just makes sense. It's nice, it's clean, it's the new definition.
Okay, so you're thinking of one warrant article that would cover all of this
Yes,
for starting in 2023?
correct.
Okay.
Because that's when Karen's retiring.
Because that's when we would.
Yep.
Her
Okay.
term-
I just
her
want to make
term
sure
is
I'm
up.
on
Her
the
term
right
will be up
page.
and she's gonna retire from it, yeah, not rerun or whatever.
Yeah.
When would you like to have the budget hearing? And that's kind of like the mock town meeting, is that what you call it?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's what we call it, Dana.
Okay.
So when are we mocking things up?
That was the first time I've ever experienced that.
Oh!
Wow!
We're unique, I guess.
You said that had to happen?
So we have to have it definitely by Friday, February 11th.
Okay.
Obviously, I wouldn't want to wait that long, and I don't want to go in January. And I think we should do it as a separate meeting.
I would give some time, just in case it's a bad snowstorm or
Exactly.
something, you
Yeah.
want a little leeway there.
Yeah.
So
February 2nd, maybe? That's
What
a
day is
Wednesday.
that?
that's a Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Do we want to do it different? Like,
Can't we do it?
Well, you're going to
mentioned
have
January,
people, you're going to
so-
have the moderator, and you're going to have,
Mhm.
you know, I just think it makes it cleaner if you separate it from the regular meeting.
Yeah, I do too. I
Well,
think-
so my thinking was that since we've got our normal meeting the 7th, which is going to be the department head stuff, I know you said no January, but January 31st is the Monday right before that.
That's the Monday after the third Tuesday? Yeah.
So,
The only thing about, I think one thing about a Wednesday is,
Oh, well, January 31st is fine.
which is a Wednesday.
That's
Um,
the second.
The second is a
Although
Because we know- Only-
Michelle will not have, I mean, there's a possibility that she would get a petition article until the 1st, right?
Right.
And I would like you to have that.
So the.
And
other-
Mondays don't really work very well for me.
True. So the other thought, besides Wednesday the 2nd, is haven't we, and I'm looking at Dana, but he's not going to really be able to tell me. Haven't we in the past done the mock meeting also on a Saturday? Like the normal
No,
meeting?
never.
No?
It's usually at
Okay.
night.
Okay,
I feel like Wednesday's the middle of the week, but Mondays are,
yeah.
I don't know if it's ever been on a Monday, I know, but Dee might remember better.
Mondays are usually like school board, and there's a lot of meetings on Mondays,
Right.
and that's why I think they hold it on a Wednesday or a
I
Thursday.
think we did it Wednesday last year.
Yeah, I
Okay.
think the second would be good.
That's fine then. Yep.
February.
We did it February 4th last year.
well, there you go.
Oh, okay, so that was what? That would have been
That was a Thursday.
Thursday, yeah, okay.
Well, whichever, either, but either one, I just think,
Either
like
one
you pointed
works,
out,
I
someone
suppose.
just tells me Mondays,
Mondays are too many things going
What?
on. Plus,
People
it's the
miss it.
start of the week,
Yeah,
and people
yeah,
aren't gonna
yeah.
come out
And I'll
because they're
say
saying,
no,
I'm
yeah.
tired, you
Yeah.
know.
Okay, February 2nd, Groundhog Day.
Ah, hey, there we go.
well, we'll tell them we're gonna get our little friend out.
So
They
What are
come out.
we doing, at 6:30 or
We're just going to
7?
repeat the budget over and over.
7?
Circular
Usually they're
content.
7, I think.
We relive
I
the
think
budget
last year we started at 7
probably.
o'clock.
I
think
think
7
7
is
is
the
good
time,
because
yeah.
it makes it easier for
Yeah.
people who are coming home
Yeah.
from work
Right.
and stuff.
Yeah.
Make sure they can get to it.
Right,
2 at 7 p.m.
yeah, 7.
It's my oldest son's birthday that day. I'm not gonna tell you how old he's gonna be.
What was that?
My oldest son's birthday.
Wow.
So So he's got cake and ice cream, so he'll have
You
like
know,
Oh,
so I won't be able to make it.
Wait a
I'll
minute,
be-
you should cake and ice cream to the meeting, come
and
on.
presents.
Yeah.
Hit me for that, yeah.
7. All right.
And that way, if we have a terrible storm
Right, we
or
have some.
something, we have some wiggle room.
Yep.
Because we are allowed to convene for it and then postpone it.
I believe you are, yeah.
Do
So,
we have to convene, if it's so bad, can we just postpone it, or do you have to so many
I don't
hours?
remember. I think
I
it
don't
depends, I
remember
think if
either.
it's X number of days ahead, you can notice it. But if you're within a certain time frame, you have to come and then, it's not postpone,
Continue.
it's like a continuance or
Yeah,
something like that to another
continuation,
day.
yeah, right, continue
Uh,
to another day.
When you
So-
show up and you're the only people there, you know.
So, yeah.
Either you got the wrong night.
You missed the memo.
Matter of fact, I think at the school board, I think we did it once or twice, but most of the school board members didn't even have to show up. Just the superintendent and a couple of them, and they
Mhm.
postponed it, so I didn't even have to go, I thought that was kinda neat.
I think we're taking care of the budget stuff.
Thank you.
Were there other warrant articles that we need to discuss? Or
I
is it
spoke
just
with
stuff we
Michelle
read up?
about your conversation for the Historical Society, and
Oh,
she has
yes.
passed that along. Basically, we have the warrant articles that we just spoke about, and we have the warrant articles for the trust funds and the warrant article for Pillsbury Lake Dam,
Which is a basic.
which is
do
what
it
you.
every
Yeah.
day.
All of those are pretty much copy and paste, good numbers.
I don't know of any others.
Oh, the fund that we were gonna get rid of
Oh, yes, and I've got,
for the reappraisals.
yeah, you saw that, Therese
Thank you for that.
gave me some
Thanks,
guidance
Michelle.
on that. So we would have to do that one,
Okay.
if you wanted to repurpose that.
Well,
Basically, it's closing it out and opening a new one.
I don't think it's even opening anymore, it's just closing it out.
Fine, whatever you,
What was the fund, I forget?
It was the fund for reappraisal because it's now built
Yeah,
into the
now we,
contract.
I
So we could just
dump
close
it.
the
Yeah,
fund and
close
stick
it
it
out.
into
put the money back in the general fund.
Yeah.
Then we can use it to offset taxes at the end.
Or that could be the fun,
Yeah, that's the general fund.
fun.
No.
All right.
Travel.
So that moves us to, unless anyone has any other budget questions.
No.
Yeah.
All right, that moves us to new business, 2022 master meeting schedule.
So there should be a master meeting schedule in your packet.
Yes,
Just like
there
the
are.
board to review it and decide if that's what they want to do.
And I will tell you,
And come back the next week and.
Well, I already posted it, so.
Oh, you already, well.
Well, I gotta post it for the planning board and the ZBA, they're on there too.
You might
Ah.
know that on select board, a few of the Mondays that are holidays, we've moved it to the Tuesday following.
Okay, that's smart.
So,
That makes sense.
instead of waiting a whole other week.
Mm.
Okay, well,
Other than
how
that,
far
it
ahead
looked-
do you plan your life?
It looked fairly straightforward.
Boy, you're really funny.
I don't think there's
This looks
anything
good.
unusual about it.
No,
No.
but you
I
have the
know,
discretion to change it if you
newspapers,
wanted
every
to.
month, Newspapers.
Yeah. So,
Hey.
And it kind of goes along with the way it's been happening, right?
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, looks
Well, it
good.
changed
Good,
twice,
right.
3
Looks
times
good.
last
Yeah, hopefully we don't have to do that.
year.
Well, we won't ask you why, but, so do we make a motion to accept them?
I think that would make sense.
Okay. Make a motion to accept these lovely dates.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Boy, hot stuff, man.
All right, that moves us on to correspondence.
All right.
And I think in correspondence, I'm going to just fit in, as you know, we've been working on job descriptions. And we all learned recently that the description for the fire chief was not really accepted by the board. That it was a description that was written by a former chief. So I would like to work on that one. I'm going to give you what I have for a sample, and I'm going to talk to Emmett further about it, which I haven't had a chance to do, to
Kind of
see,
go over with him.
you know,
Yep.
to see what his
Add
ideas
or
are.
take away.
I'm not going to try and jump over that.
Oh, but you'd be on camera.
Yeah.
Maybe. If you don't make it, maybe
So,
not.
just pass that. And also, I'm trying to come up with a generic job application that we have not had.
What
So,
do you got now? What's it look like?
well, that's the one we have.
Fire chief.
But anyway, you can just pass this to
Oh, wait a minute. I thought you were handing me 3 different ones.
No.
I'm like, God, they
You
look
only
the
have to have
same,
one.
Dana.
Yeah.
But what do they fill out now?
Right now, we don't really have a job description, a job application. Basically, people have just sent in their resume, or fire department did it a little differently, but I think it'd be good if it's uniform. And I realize the police department's a whole different, a whole different criteria. So I'd like you to, I'm thinking that maybe if you take a look at it, if you have questions at the next meeting, we can talk about it.
Sounds good.
And it looks like most job applications.
Yeah, oh, it's not, yeah.
I mean, do you want
I would assume, well, I mean, we should look at
to?
it.
Okay.
I don't expect there will be anything.
He's gonna fire me.
I don't expect there will be anything odd.
Well, I just thought,
I don't wanna just
we asked
glance at it
that.
and say it's good.
We asked that. That looks good. Yep.
Well, I did kind of, I wanted to be sure I didn't ask anything that I shouldn't.
Well, that's right.
And so I have I've sent it to the attorney to take a look at
Perfect,
as
okay.
well. But there's only one category that I think he might change the wording a little bit,
At the end.
yeah.
Yeah, the last one.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I saw that. But I think that's not a bad. I'm trying to think.
It's basically it's boilerplate.
Yeah,
You know,
that's what I
it's,
mean.
you don't ask questions like, are you married? How many children do you have?
And the age.
Are you pregnant? That type of thing.
Right.
Yeah. Gets worse and worse.
You're not allowed to ask age until you're required to ask them their age to pay them their salary so they can get taxes.
That kind of worked out for me, actually.
Yeah.
Because I came through on the TV a little younger.
Oh my gosh.
Do you have any other items in there?
So those are the things I had in correspondence. I didn't have any other letters for you.
We also got the letter of resignation that was sent to us.
Yes, I didn't think we were going to do that in a public session, though.
Well, I just wanted to mention that it was correspondence that we received.
Yes, okay, fine.
So,
No public comment.
no, we received a letter of resignation
No,
from somebody in the
no.
fire department.
She was saying no public
No.
comment.
Oh,
No
yes.
public
Moving on to public
comment.
comment. Yep, thank you. We don't have any public
He's gonna be
makeup
slow
now.
over there.
You're gonna be me sitting in the corner. All right, so that moves us on to our motions and approvals. Which of course are the wonderful minutes and trustees. Do you have the trustees?
Yes, I do.
ones? I know we were figuring out numbers for one of them.
And the one I have for the trustee is, I didn't do it because I didn't have an exact figure for the impact fees yet. So that's a work in progress. And what we're talking about is the money for the paving of the driveway, because we were
yeah.
taking it from 3 different sources. And so before we ask the trustees for part of it, I want to make sure we don't ask for too much or too little. But I have motion for the trustees. And you'll see what it is. And there are 2, they're both related. in August, you had approved that money for the fee for the New Hampshire DES for the wetlands application, which never happened. So,
For White Plains.
right, so
That makes
I'd
sense.
like to give it back to Therese so she can reverse it. Then the other part is that you have to tell her to give you back the money so it can go back in that fund. And she gave me the wording on that.
Okay. I had to read the second one a second time to make sure that it made sense to me. But that does. All right, I would move to request the trustees of trust funds void check number 538 dated August 18th, 2021 in the amount of $400 that was payable to the New Hampshire DES Wetlands Bureau for the wetlands permit for the White Plains Road culvert replacement. The wetlands application was not filed and this check was not needed. These funds came from the Bridge and Culvert Capital Reserve Fund.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I would move to request the trustees of trust funds issue a check in the amount of $400 payable to the town of Webster to return the funds from voided check 538 to be deposited to the Bridge and Culverts Capital Reserve Fund.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Well, that was easy.
It's nice when they're nice and easy that
You
way.
want the second, you want the second.
Well, no, you're good. You did a fine
Oh,
job.
gee.
Um,
Well, it'd be
For
something
the,
good.
well, he's coming over.
That's for the ARPA,
Oh, okay.
bill I have, which is this bill.
Oh, yes. This is right. Okay, so that's the two stuff. So I move to request payment to the Electronic Security Protection Inc. in the amount of $3,623, invoice number 29113, for installation of the camera security system at the fire department to be taken from the ARPA funds.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So it's
So is
overqualifies.
Is the camera so we can see if somebody, do they wear COVID signs or?
Yes.
That makes a lot of sense to me.
So we clearly see the COVID.
Yeah.
For the draft minutes, I noticed at one point mine were cut off in the middle, so like it was missing a page in the middle.
You sure it's not on the back of the
So,
page?
so it read Quasic and then it was a completely different paragraph. So if that were the case for you, then let me know and
probably.
we'll postpone
Yeah, that's
doing the
something
minutes.
like that.
That's probably what it
Okay.
is.
Yeah.
So
That's
I
fine.
got the appropriate ones from Russ, but I didn't know if everyone got them because I thought it was just me. So we'll go ahead and do the minutes next time.
No, that sounds good.
I think I only scanned one side is what happened.
That would do it.
Yeah.
Oops.
It happens.
Silly copier.
You should know what I want.
Right? That's why we need that AI.
It's 'cause you
that
keep
means signing
crapping on it.
documents.
That's because you keep crapping on the copier and all these
These
200
are for
copies
the
needed.
encumbrances that you have already approved, but I forgot to ask you to sign that.
Aha.
Trusty pen.
Oh, my God.
It sounds so great.
Oh, God.
I just have to sit here
Wait,
and
doesn't
sign my
take-
life away.
Right?
I have to say, it doesn't take much to keep him happy, is it?
It's a
Wanna try
good
that,
thing,
Jim?
Dean.
Yeah,
simple things
Why do mine?
I have the, too many things here.
I'm so excited about signing.
Those were the encumbrances that we already.
Oh, yeah,
moved
yeah,
to.
yeah, okay, yeah, yeah. I just want to make sure they,
Don't you like sitting over there so you have to walk all around here?
It's my weight reduction.
There's our check run.
Thank you. And if you wanted any of the backup, it's here.
And this is not a payroll week?
It is not,
Okay.
unfortunately.
Are we getting $500,000?
right.
And this was actually a special run because of the end of the year.
Right, we're all trying to get that done.
Yeah.
Should I just see the backup there?
Back up.
I had told Wendy I didn't think we needed to do it, but I changed my mind when I saw it was going to be like 28 journal entries. And,
Didn't want that.
Yep, that makes sense. All right. Here is that all signed. Oh,
Is that
thank you.
stuff? Any good stuff in there? That's how you learn, too.
All right. And do we have anything further for the public portion?
I do not. Oh, Russ sent you the select board rules of procedures.
Oh, not yet. Didn't get them to
Oh, they didn't? Okay.
Never mind. I was gonna say, I
But I
just
can send
that.
that
Do you
out
have
to,
them to give us?
I can go print them if you want tonight, or I can email them to everybody tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah.
That sounds good. And I
Real
assume
boil.
that's so that we can talk about them at the next meeting?
Yeah.
Okay. They're trying to make our lives easier and structure us.
That's right, that's right.
Somebody's
Sitting
gonna
there
do it.
being good.
And if you're
quiet.
successful, don't tell my husband.
Well, honestly. The
Well,
format is-
we're not miracle workers.
Right.
And they're still laughing, that's the good part.
So do you have anything else?
I don't
that,
have
you want to
anything.
bring up for public session? All right. Then I would move, we should discuss that.
Okay,
Or
then
should
probably
we?
we should go into non-public
Yeah.
under RSA 91/A:3, Roman numeral 2A.
Oh, you know your stuff.
That's the personnel.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I would move that we go into non-public for personnel.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We should immediately adjourn following the non-public session for any